kick the field goal. It'll be Jason Gingell out of the hold of Mesco. Good snap, good hold, and the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning. A pleasant good Thursday morning to you and yours. Welcome, as always, to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Thom Brennaman. As you know, we come your way 10 a.m. to noon, Monday through Friday. That's Eastern Time. We start on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. We always ask, please subscribe to the program. You can also find us streaming on Facebook on the Chatterbox Sports page. Flip on the notification switch, if you would, please. If you'd prefer to join us in podcast form, please do. Search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman, and you're dialed in. Big show coming up today. We got lots to tell you about that in a moment. Bengals back on the practice field today. It's round one of the NFL playoffs set for Paycor Sunday night at 8 p. Yesterday, T. Higgins did not practice. He was listed as having an illness. Cam Taylor-Britt was limited with a groin injury. The question continues to be, is Lamar Jackson playing? He's not done so since that Week 13 injury against Denver. He's not even practiced since then. That's a span of now 39 days. Jackson's backup, Tyler Huntley, did not throw a single pass, at least not during the part where the media was allowed to watch. He's been nursing tendonitis in his right throwing shoulder, and, of course, did not play last week against the Bengals in the season finale. John Harbaugh did say Huntley is on schedule, so you figure he will start. Told you late yesterday, Tua Tagovailoa has been ruled out for Sunday's game in Buffalo. He's been in concussion protocol since the day after Christmas. Skylar Thompson is prepping to make his third start as Tua's backup. Teddy Bridgewater is still healing from a dislocated pinky on his throwing right hand. This weekend, you got two games on Saturday, Seahawks and the Niners. I think that's an interesting game. We'll talk a lot more about that today, a lot more tomorrow. And then you have the Chargers in Jacksonville. Three games on Sunday, Miami at Buffalo, the Giants in Minnesota, the Bengals against the Ravens. And then Monday night, we have Dallas and Tampa Bay. Well, after a season where Zach Wilson stunk, simply didn't get any better, the New York Jets have parted ways with offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur. The team failed to score a single touchdown in the last three games of the season after flirting most of the year with a postseason berth. They say this is a tough one for head coach Robert Saleh. The two have been best friends for longer than 20 years. In college football, sad news, legendary USC running back Charles White, who won the Heisman Trophy in 1979, has died from cancer at the age of 64. White is still to this day, and remember, freshmen couldn't play when he was around. He is still to this day the Trojans' all-time leading rusher. College hoops, big one in the Big East last night at the Cintas Center. Number 12 Xavier keeps on rolling. They downed the preseason favorite Creighton, and the game lived up to all the hype. Xavier wins a thriller 90-87. Paul will talk with you about that shortly. Muskie's now 14-3. Creighton has been a huge disappointment. Call them whatever you want. They're 9-8. End of story. Elsewhere in the Big East, number 6 UConn loses again, this time at number 25 Marquette, 82-76. UC home to East Carolina last night, and it was all Bearcats. Their best game of the year, I think we all agree. 83-55 the final. David DeJulius became the first Bearcat since Troy Caupain back in 2016 with an assist double-double. He had 11 points and 12 assists. UC is 12-6 on the year. In the Big 12, TCU blew an 18-point lead and lost to number 10 Texas. That Big 12, to watch games every night is beyond belief. And then baseball. How crazy is the baseball salary structure world? We give you this. Brandon Belt, who for a long time has been an excellent player for the San Francisco Giants. He won 2 World Series there. Their starting first baseman, solid, everyday guy. But now he's almost 35 years old. He didn't play half the season last year. And when he did play, he hit .213 with 8 home runs and 23 batted in. With that in mind, Belt got a 1-year deal from Toronto for $9.5 million to be a part-time player. $9.5 million. Good for him. Good work if you can find it. We rarely ever talk about the NBA, but it's a big deal in Cleveland. After nearly a year of rehabbing from a torn ACL, Cleveland guard Ricky Rubio is set to rejoin the team tonight in Portland. The Cavaliers are 10 games over 500, and Rubio is expected to be a major player and force on that team moving forward. Many of you in the chat, they were wondering, would my shirt look fleek today? Just a tired shirt on a tired dude. Casey, Paul, good morning, men.
Casey, Tom, how are you today?
Doing all right. Casey, you okay over there? You scrambling around trying to get James Rapien dialed in?
Yeah, I was just checking his audio. He's good.
Okay. We got James Rapien coming up here in a matter of seconds to talk about the Bengals and the Ravens and all that's going on. Coming up at 10:30, we will talk to our buddy from down in Dallas, Voch Lombardi, about the Cowboys going to Tampa Bay on Monday night. And, of course, at 11:30, the best 30 minutes in television, twice a week, our buddy Tracy Jones. He wants to talk about Keith Hernandez. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Now, I love Keith Hernandez.
So do I.
One of my favorite all-time dudes. Great player, great guy, lived hard, played hard. He is going apparently on this huge book tour. I saw a little bit of an interview he did last night. And, of course, Tracy's going to allude to it with Tucker Carlson, who I know both of you are big fans of. But it was a great interview. And he talked about many, many things in his career. But I tell you, I loved hearing him talk about. He'd go out at night sometimes, especially in Chicago. He'd come right from the bars, right to Wrigley Field, and never missed a single game because he was hungover. You know why? He says, I owed it to my teammates. Can't let the guys down. Gamer, Keith Hernandez. All right, boys, we got James ready to go?
Yeah, we do. And also we have something for James today because we figured that with as much as James comes on, he deserved a better introduction, so somebody from our office put something together for him. So, James, this one's for you.
Go, go, James Rapien! Go, go, James Rapien! Go, go, James Rapien, you Sports Illustrated beat reporter!
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Who is that? Let me just start. James, good morning. Who in the world was the singer on that deal?
Yeah, who was it? Because they sound like me singing, because I'm the worst singer on the planet. But I might be the second worst singer on the planet now.
That's a Reed Mouse special.
Oh, my God. Oh, my
That's
God.
good.
I mean, James, where are you going to get that kind of intro to coming on the program? Right?
Who doesn't want to watch Power Rangers now after the show, right? You know, after you're done, I think I'm going to binge Power Rangers like I'm 7 again.
Hey, more importantly, congratulations. A recent addition to the Rapien household. How's it going?
Good. Overall, sleeping is about as well as you can, I think, with a newborn. So no, she's been great. She's healthy. Mom's doing well as well. So yeah, we're certainly excited.
Amen. Greatest gift in the world. No doubt about it. Healthy and happy. Glad everybody's doing all right. And good luck on the sleep. I just hope there's no colic in that future. I remember driving around when I was living in Arizona. I'd get back from broadcasting baseball games. Our daughter was born in July. And I'd get back from games about 11 o'clock at night. Without fail, 1 a.m., she'd start crying. I'd have to load her up in the SUV and I'd be driving around Arizona, the streets of Phoenix at about from about 1:30 to about 2:38, just to calm her down, the vibration in the car, and then put her back to bed. I wish I could do it all over again. It's okay. All right, James. Look, everybody's talking about Lamar Jackson. We thought when he initially got hurt, they were going to be cautious with him, naturally. But the feeling was he was going to be back for the postseason. Does it appear to you that more and more it's looking like that's not going to happen?
It doesn't feel like it. It certainly feels like it's going to be Tyler Huntley on Sunday, and that's really the sense I got going into last week's game. If you're the Ravens, why push Huntley out there if he's not close to 100% when you know you're probably playing the Bengals anyways? Let's see what Walker brings, right? And it was a mixed bag for Walker. But, yeah, I think it's going to be Huntley this week. Certainly not Lamar. And could I be wrong? Could he somehow get out there today or tomorrow? I guess so, but it does not feel that way. And, by the way, I'm not sure I would, because the Ravens aren't going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they can't win on Sunday, but it's a very, very small chance that they would win the Super Bowl, even with Lamar Jackson. And he's got a lot of money on the line this offseason. So I think playing it safe for him, taking the fact that they're playing the Bengals out of it, might be, if I was his agent, and I know he represents himself, but if I was his agent, I would probably say, let's just hold off, Lamar, because we know what you can do. Don't go out there and make your injury much worse.
Look, I know we're going to talk more about the Bengals, but I have found this Lamar Jackson thing so interesting. Not only things that are said, but more importantly, things that aren't said by John Harbaugh. I got to tell you, James, if I ran the Ravens, I'm franchising the guy next year. It's been 2 years in a row where he has been hurt. His style of play leads to the potential of injury more so than a lot of other quarterbacks in the NFL. He's not a big guy like a Josh Allen or somebody like that. And if he got tagged, he jumps into the top 5 highest paid players in the league at his position, which would mean about a $30, $35, $40 million payroll. There's no way I'm guaranteeing him a ton of money over a long-term deal based on what's happened on the injury front the last 2 years. And that doesn't even bring into account the way some of his teammates might look at this whole thing right now.
Mm-hmm. I think if they lose Sunday, and with or without Lamar, they need to look in the mirror as a franchise and decide if they want to continue to go in this direction. And that doesn't mean you can't win with Lamar, but the way they've done it, they've prioritized tight ends, the running backs, and win with defense. Well, look at the league. And specifically, look at the AFC playoff picture. And not just the top seeds, right? Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, but Herbert, Lawrence. I mean, the list goes on. And what do all of those guys do well? Yeah, they might run, but they also throw it all over the field. And a lot of them have high-end weapons. And the guys that don't, you want to get them more weapons to use. This Ravens offense it's not that. And so I think Greg Roman is out, their offensive coordinator. But I wonder if Lamar's out. I wonder if they do a complete overhaul and say, all right, we're going to move you. And there are a lot of teams that would like Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. And you kind of do a reset. I'm not sure they'll do that. I would certainly consider it, unless you just say, all right, let's get him some weapons. So, yeah, I think there's a lot on the line. And that's why if you're the Bengals, you want to get off to a quick start, because there's a lot of questions, I think, about this Ravens team, and there could be a lot of changes made when they lose at some point in the postseason. I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be Sunday. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl.
It's a third time these teams have met this year. They've split the first two. You could certainly make a very strong case had the Bengals not gotten cued inside the 5-yard line and done a couple of play calls there that they could have, should have, would have won that first game. They didn't, so end of story. But generally in division games all over the NFL, when you're seeing teams twice, now a third time, they tend to be very tight games. Are you expecting that, even if it's Hundley or Brown or whomever's at quarterback, are you expecting a tight contest Sunday night?
I think it's going to be a one-score game, and it'll probably feel a lot like at least this is how I think it's going to feel a lot like it did last year against the Raiders, where The Bengals should control it because they're more talented. And I think Joe Burrow seeing this defense for a third time, seeing McDonald's defense, their new defensive coordinator for Baltimore, a third time, that's going to help him a lot. And he kind of saw Don Wink Martindale's defense and really carved it up by the end of last season. Well, the Ravens moved on, and I think you could argue that Joe Burrow got Don Wink Martindale fired, who is now doing pretty well with the Giants. But Martindale didn't adjust much. And so that chess match between this Ravens defense and Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense is certainly interesting. But I give the edge to Burrow because he's seen them twice now. And going into this third match, should be able to find their weaknesses and exploit them a little bit. So, no, I do think it's going to be tight. It's a divisional game, and these divisional games are always weird and unique, and they know each other so well. But I expect, not sure if it's going to happen, my expectation is for the Bengals to control this game because they're at home. They have the better quarterback regardless of who lines up at quarterback for the Ravens. And they have the better weapons. And the defenses are pretty comparable. The offenses aren't. The Bengals have the edge, but the defenses are pretty comparable. So they should control this game, and we'll see if they can do that.
The inconsistencies, and look, there are a myriad of reasons why. I mean, just turn back the clock to last week. I think everybody who watched that game, once the Bengals got out to the 17-0 lead, there was a very conservative and not showing a lot and all those kinds of things. But one thing that cannot be denied is the inconsistency of the offense as a whole, where the defense has been consistent all year long, especially when teams get inside the red zone. They hold them to field goals rather than touchdowns. Are you concerned about what basically has been since about week 14? They'll play a good half, they play a bad half, or a bad half, then a good half. Are you at all concerned about where this team is offensively, even with all of the big stars and so forth?
Not concerned, but I'm curious to see how they come out now against the Ravens, who are going to be the best defense they face in the AFC playoff bracket. And I've really tried to hammer that home all week long. The Chiefs, their defense is not this Ravens defense. Any of these teams, the Chargers, not this Ravens defense, and that's probably the second best defense they could potentially face. The Bills do not have this Ravens defense, and so they're going to be tested. And so do I expect the Bengals to just go up and down the field? I don't. I think that's something you're going to need, whether it's in Buffalo or in Kansas City if you face those teams later in the postseason. But this one is going to be a little uglier. And from a consistency standpoint, and they did that outside of the one turnover last week, and, well, there was a face mask that should have been called, so it shouldn't have even been a turnover. The consistency I think they need on Sunday, it's not going to be up and down pretty the entire game. Jamar Chase running free for touchdowns. They score 40. I don't think it's going to be that. It's still going to be pretty ugly. I think this game will be in the 20s and teens. And don't turn it over. Be consistent in that way. And end on a kick. If you can end every possession on a kick, I think you have a really good shot because this Ravens offense, yeah, they're going to have Mark Andrews back. Yeah, they're going to have J.K. Dobbins. They're still not super scary. And you expect, like you said, this Bengals defense to do their job. So that's the consistency I need to see this week. But to your point, if the Bengals are going to go where they need to go and are hoping to go, all of those things, then they're going to need to be more consistent and move the ball up and down the field like we've seen it during, halves in spurts, but not throughout an entire game. So maybe we see that this week. I just think it's going to be tough because that Ravens defense is really tough.
I know you watch a lot of the game film stuff and probably have gone back even in recent fatherhood the last number of days and watched some of the tape. Would you consider Adeniji and Sharping, and maybe it's split between the two, would you consider them to be better in the run game or the pass game?
I think that I would say pass game. Sharping's tough to say. I would say Akeem Adeniji, the drop-off between him and Lyle Collins, it's not a huge in the pass game, but you could certainly notice it in the run game. And that's one of those things, especially in a week like this, where you'd love to be able to get the run game going. But I'm not sure they're going to be able to. And this really isn't anything against Sharping, but Kappa was a great run blocker and has been such a huge part of what they've done through the air and on the ground. It's going to be tough to fill those shoes. And so can you just get competent right guard play from Sharping? I think that's a realistic expectation, and that's what the Bengals expect. And that's great, but that's still not what you're getting from Kappa. You're getting more than that. And he's been their best offensive lineman. So it's a big loss. That right side is certainly not where you were hoping it would be this time of year, because you were hoping it would be Collins and Kappa. And, Kappa goes down last week, and that's as big of a loss as you can have on this offensive line. But I do think Sharping's capable. He's played in some big games, 33 career starts, playoff games. So I do think he's going to be able to hold down the fort, but it's not going to be the same without Kappa out there for sure.
Has there been any, I haven't read it anyway, maybe I missed it. Is there any feeling that Kappa has a chance to come back? Not this week, but should they advance next week against the winner in Buffalo?
Well, put it like this. Trey Hendrickson, I thought, was going to be out till maybe now. And Sam Hubbard, same thing. I thought he was going to miss more games than he did. And so this ankle, it's weird, right? It's unique because you have all the swelling and everything like that. But I haven't heard from anyone that anything's broken. And so if nothing's broken, then I think that there's at least a chance. Now, some have already ruled him out. That's fine. Okay. But it's a long time. Super Bowl 57 is a long time from now. So could he return for that? Could he return in, that's 4 weeks. I think there's a shot. So I'm not willing to rule him out yet, but it doesn't seem likely, and it stinks. And it goes back into all the coin flip stuff and everything like that. I don't think Kappa would have been out there otherwise. So that part of it really, really stinks going into the playoffs, losing a guy like that.
Nothing to be worried about. Higgins was out yesterday, an illness, whatever that is. Not a lot of details. And then Cam Taylor-Britt still nursing a sore groin. Other than that, they look pretty good and everybody ready to go, all hands on deck?
Yeah, I think so. And Dave Lapham mentioned a hip pointer for T. Higgins earlier in the week. I think he did on Bengals line with Lance McAllister. So we'll see there. The Bengals listed T out with an illness yesterday. So hopefully he could practice today. Hopefully he's healthy. And part of the illness is this time of year, you just don't want the guy around other guys and getting other people sick. So I totally get it from the Bengals perspective. So we'll see there. But yeah, I think he'll still play. And same goes for Cam Taylor-Britt. So they are relatively healthy outside of Kappa. That's the one. But Hendricks and Hubbard, both of those guys are back. And honestly, I think Hubbard's going to be even better this week than he was last week. It was his first game back. It was a weird week. I think he's going to take a step or two forward and look like the guy we saw that was having a career year prior to his injury.
All right, James, thanks as always for your time, my friend. We really appreciate it. I mean, you got the big the big music video intro, so I'm sure your
Loved
day
it.
It can't get any better than this.
I love the creativity behind it. It was Power Rangers theme, sign me up, and then callbacks to some different video bloopers. I loved it, man. So yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. James, thanks as always for your time. James Rapien, he's on the Bengals beat morning, noon, and night. And the Bengals v. Ravens at 8 o'clock. All right, we're going to take a quick break in about 5 minutes. Voch Lombardi returns. Fired up to have the big fella. The pressure in Dallas. Oh, boy. The pressure in Dallas for the big one on Monday night against Tom Brady. As my son likes to say, Brady is the GOAT.
The GOAT.
Brady. Now there's a leader of men. Gentlemen, take it away.
All right.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great, trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
And, ooh, look at that.
We just got a hanger today.
Yeah, just a little hanger.
Casey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, especially after last night. Had a really good night betting.
Okay, so I want to ask you something. We got enough time here while Tom's in the bathroom to talk about this. Yeah. Now that today is January 12th. We're 12 days into this whole betting thing in the state of Ohio, and you were new to this. what has bin your first impressions of the first 12 days? What have you learned? What have you not learned yet? Do you know what you don't know?
My parlays almost hit almost always.
Your parlays are so close, man. They're so close.
Yeah. So I've been taking a lot more straight bets, honestly.
Good.
Since the start, I used to just load up on parlays, and I'd be up a lot more if I would just keep to my same unit size. Like I was experimenting with different sizes, and I'd be up by like 3 wins on the day.
Yeah.
But I put different sizes on there, so I would be down for the day. I'm like, why would I do that? That's dumb. So
Agreed.
I'm just doing all the rookie mistakes early, getting it out of the way. But like last night was really good. I stayed with the same unit size the entire time, went up by like 4 wins. So I'm up really, really big since yesterday.
Yeah, I had a decent night last night. I was on Missouri. That lost terribly. That was my pick of the day. And it looked, oh, man. So they were losing by 18. I had Missouri +4. It was my pick of the day. They were looking great. Or they were looking terrible. Then they were looking great. They rallied. They were losing by 18 at half. They got it back. They were down by 4. Then they lost by 18. Oof. So, wasn't great, but it's all right. Still way up on the day thanks to Texas. Sniped that one live. Got that one with
the money line live.
Got in when that Texas was about +230, something like that.
Yeah, I got in a little late. I got in +120.
Yeah. Oh, so I staggered in. I got in around 145. Then they gave up another bucket, went up to like 230. So I kind of staggered my way in, and ended up okay. Ended up having a pretty good night.
Yeah.
Any night that you're not down is a good night.
Yeah.
Even if you're only up half a unit.
Yeah, and if you, the viewer,
yes,
want to also experience this type of winnings,
Betfred Sportsbook.
Betfred Sportsbook, and join our Discord. We are constantly posting winners in there.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Constantly posting winners. So please check us out on Discord. Sometimes we post our stuff on TikTok. Please join our TikTok. We're still doing the promotion. Follow us on TikTok. Get a chance to enter in our giveaway for the Bengals tickets. And is it the same for Discord too? Join the Discord for the same thing?
Discord.
Discord.
Can't have a show, can't have a morning without Discord.
Absolutely not.
I do believe that's the same thing though for Discord.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
But yeah. So please join us. Discord, TikTok.
If you jump on TikTok, does that mean that that you're subjecting yourself to the Chinese Communist Party knowing everything about you?
Oh, man. Everybody knows everything about us anyway. I'm so sick. Can I go on a little rant for a second? Am I allowed to do this? Because I'm sure this is going to...
Politics.
This might piss some people off.
This isn't politics.
This
is reality 101. This isn't a political issue.
I am so sick and tired of people that get on their phones and they say, oh, I don't want to use my phone for this and this and this reason because it's listening to me. Like the other day we were talking about where to go to lunch. I was on Instagram scrolling through my stories. We were talking about where to go to lunch. And legitimately, as we said, let's go to Jersey Mike's, the first thing that I saw on my phone, the first ad that I got was Jersey Mike's. I am so sick and tired of people saying that they don't like that. Do you know how convenient it is for me to talk about something or to search something, and then the first thing that it kicks back onto my phone is exactly what I want to see? Why would you not want that?
I think it's absolutely terrifying.
Why, though? Who cares?
It is Orwellian. It's terrifying. But that's another day, another topic.
But here's my point. If everybody knows everything about us anyway, they might as well put it to good use and give me my advertisements for stuff I'm going to be interested in. We're to the point where everybody knows everything about our phones and our locations and the emails and everything else, texts, tweets. Everybody knows everything anyway. It's all out there. You can't hide anything. So if it's going to be out there, might as well put it to good use. Give me some ads.
Okay.
All
right. That's the beauty of America, or at least part of it anyway. You're allowed to have your opinion on things, and that's okay.
I have a feeling you don't agree with that.
It has nothing to do with agreeing or disagreeing. It has nothing to do with it. We got Voch Lombardi coming up here. Is he ready to go?
No.
Okay, but we did this.
I wanted to show this graphic real quick before he came on because I wanted to know what he thought.
Okay, Dan Orlovsky ranks 1 through 14 the NFL playoff starting quarterbacks. And here they are. Mahomes, numero uno, Joe Burrow right behind. Allen, Hurts, Herbert. Has Lamar 6, Brady 7. Look where Dak Prescott is. I don't agree with that at all. I'm not a big Dak guy, and we'll hear from Voch here in a second what he thinks. He's not proven he can win the quote-unquote big one. He was awful last week, however much stock you want to put in that game when they were just demolished by the Washington football Wizards. I'm really surprised he has Brock Purdy so far down the list. And Daniel Jones way up on the list. Here is Voch Lombardi. Short notice. We appreciate the big man's time today. How are you, my man? How's life treating you down there?
Good morning. Good morning. We just working. We have to keep working. I probably won't get a break until June. Cowboys are going on right now. That'll be over in, February because I said so. College football is over, so I'm about to dive right into draft season. So, we're just busy,
Did I just hear you say the Cowboys won't be over your coverage of the Cowboys till February? Did you just say that?
Yeah, and everybody in the chat, everybody, backstage, on camera, we know what that means. So, yeah, for sure, 100%.
Well, now, come on now, Voch. You're not a man to duck the tough questions. We've had you on here before. And by the way, the reason you keep rolling so long into June is because you do a big, huge preview of the draft and players and teams, and we'll catch up with you when that time comes moving forward. This is like something out of a movie, hoping this matchup here, but for so many reasons. Talking about Dallas and Tampa Bay.
Sure.
Dallas, I was trying to explain to the people who watch our show on a daily basis, all the years that I broadcast in the NFL, it is mind-boggling the amount of coverage that the Dallas Cowboys get. And I'm not talking about nationally. I'm talking about just locally. It's mind-boggling how this team is followed. Jerry Jones has his own radio show, the coach, quarterback, everybody and his brother. Aikman weighs in, living down there in Dallas. Dak Prescott. Give me in a nutshell, Voch, what you think at the end of the day of Dak Prescott. You just saw Orlovsky has him way down on that quarterback rankings for all the quarterbacks that are going to be in the playoffs. Is that fair, unfair? Your thoughts?
Listen, man, my whole thing about Cowboy coverage and how big media covers Cowboy coverage, this is where I give you credit. Shouts out to Thom, right? Is you want to go to like the gritty side of it. You want to go to the internet side of, Cowboy coverage, right? You don't just want to listen to the sensationalized, some guy, I don't know how y'all do about calling names. I call names all the time. But some character on the 4-letter network go, I'd rather have Teddy Bridgewater than Dak Prescott, And I think that, that comes with views. That comes with this sensationalism. That comes with, hey, Cowboy fans are watching, and when they're upset, they tend to click on us, right? There's this other ex-football player that's on this other network that's, Dak Prescott is ass. Okay, cool. Well, you have to admit something. If you dislike Kellen Moore, if you dislike Dak Prescott, if you dislike CeeDee Lamb, you dislike that offense, somebody got to be good because since he's been back, they've been number one in XYZ categories, right? So, I'm sure if you, put him in a dark room with a broken light, put a gun to their head, like, hey, do you like Dak Prescott? Is he a top 5 quarterback, top 8 or so quarterback? They'll say yes. I say top 5, that's just my personal opinion. If somebody says top 6, 7, or 8, I'm not going to argue with anyone. But I like to get into my nuances, right? Because, I'm not just going to let this little argument get away. Hey, why do you have Dak Prescott ranked here? Is it the numbers? Is it the play? Is it the playoff wins? Because on that list that came out, Dak Prescott has more playoff wins than 7 of those guys. Since he's been in the league, he has more wins than about, 6 or so of those guys that are ranked in front of him. Mm-hmm. We just talked about numbers. I just said he's number one. Him and the offense are number one in these categories since he's been back. So where is this coming from? As a Cowboys content creator covering the Cowboys, I just do understand that there is hate that comes with the Cowboys, but that's why we're America's team. They can, some backup tight end gets coverage or something, or the backup pass rusher robs a bank and we care about it, right? Once upon a time, we're like, well, Voch, the Patriots won all these Super Bowls. Why aren't they America's team? Well, because when they're not playing, you don't care about it. You look on national coverage, they're talking about the Cowboys every single day. And even I hate it, because I think a lot of times they go out there and they give this half-ass attempt at Cowboy coverage. I watch film. Like, I watch the broadcast view, then the broadcast view again, all 22, two more times, offense and defense, right? So I got a really good idea of what's going on. And every time I watch film, I find something different. You mean to tell me some analyst on some 4-letter network watched the game one time and maybe wrote something down, and they may have been texting their friend, or they may have been eating hot wings, or they may have been arguing with their wife, and they come away with an accurate summary of what's going on the field? No, that's not the case here. So I really don't care what big media has to say. If Dan Orlovsky thinks that Daniel Jones is better than Dak Prescott, knock yourself out, bud.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on that. When you watch the film, and look, the Bengals played Tampa Bay this year. They looked good for a half, and then they were awful for a half. You got to go way back to the first week of the season when the Cowboys lost at home 19-3, I think it was, to the Buccaneers, and that's a game where Dak broke his thumb. And, Dallas has obviously been good since then. Tampa Bay's been mediocre at best since then. In fact, since then they've been a 500 team. But when you watch the film, what concerns you about Tampa Bay?
Tampa's not good, man. And that's what concerns me, actually, because the Cowboys are one of these teams where they play down to competition, right? My offense in particular, right? The Cowboys can drop 40 on this Eagles defense. They can, go and drop, 40 on the Vikings. They'll really get up for these bigger games, right? But then when it's time to play, insert Houston, Texas, insert Washington football Wizards, they kind of yawn a little bit. They go, all right, cool, we'll get past the Washington football Wizards. And look, if that's going to be the case, that's fine, because when you get to the playoffs, we don't really have bad teams when we get there. But the NFC South is so bad this year, there just happened to be a bad team in the playoffs this year. The Cowboys got to be the one to play them week one. So if the Cowboys were playing any of these bigger teams, I think they would hype themselves up, coach themselves up into playing well versus that good team, because that's the evidence. That's what we've been seeing. But when we roll out against these bad teams, then I think that's what's going to end up happening. So I think, and y'all can call me Homer, whatever. Shouts out to y'all in the chat box. Thank y'all for tuning in to being here. But even you guys can agree that when the Cowboys are on, they're on. Yep. But when they're off, they're off. When the Cowboys are doing Cowboy things, they can beat any team in this league, and I stand by that. This Eagles defense with 15 Pro Bowlers, that goes out there 24 for 24 versus zone coverage, 3 touchdowns, beats them, drops 40 on them. But we shell up versus the Washington team there. So I think that when we get to the playoffs, once we get over this Tom Brady hurdle, all the games are going to bring that anxiousness back. Oh, we got the Eagles. Let's go. Hey, let's get up to beat the Eagles. Oh, the 49ers. I'm terrified of them. Let's go beat the 49ers. But my fear now is that we're going to play down to the Tampa Bay competition. But hopefully Mike McCarthy doesn't let that happen.
All right, well, Mike McCarthy. Jerry Jones comes out earlier in the week. They have full confidence in Mike McCarthy. But you and I both know, Voch, the way it is down in Dallas, if things don't go the Cowboys' way, and you just acknowledged it's a fair argument that there have been games this year where when Dallas plays really good teams, the Cowboys tend to play well. When they play the middle-of-the-road teams or below-average teams, as you said, they drop down to their competition level. So if things don't go well for the Cowboys on Monday night, is Mike McCarthy in trouble? Should he be in trouble?
I'm not sure, because Mike McCarthy can do things like, win 4 games with Cooper Rush. He can do things like that. He can unify a locker room. He can take a locker room that quit on the previous coaching staff and, make those dudes not quit on him. I do think Mike McCarthy is good at some of those things. And I really fear the whole grass is greener thing, right? Because you can have Mike McCarthy, you can have Kellen Moore, and you go, hey, man, these dudes win you football games. These dudes get you double-digit wins back-to-back, playoff appearances back-to-back. These guys have you number one in these categories. But, man, what if we quit to go find something better and we end up getting worse? That's my big worry about that. I do think Mike McCarthy's a good coach. I think he brings championship pedigree to the Cowboys, right? But if we're going to win, I think it's going to have to be by the players, honestly. It's this defense that hasn't been as top five as they once was, they're going to have to be top five again. And Dak Prescott's going to go out there. And the whole Dak Prescott turnover thing is overblown. I just think it's a reason for people to have conversation about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott isn't notoriously a turn the ball over guy. PFF, which I don't always go to PFF for their grades, but I like their weird number stats. Out of Dak Prescott's 15 or so interceptions, like 7 of them wasn't his fault. And that's according to them. Y'all can look it up yourself. So I like aggressive Dak. I like push the ball downfield Dak. I just need if we drop 40 on the Eagles, I just don't need my defense to give up 35. If that makes sense. So
that's what I was going to ask you, Voch. Is when the Bengals and the Cowboys played, and again, that's 1 week after the Tampa Bay game, so it's the second week of the year. The Bengals were putting together 4/5 of a brand new offensive line. Micah Parsons is running all over the place. Quarterback sacks, blah blah blah. What has happened to that defense since early in the year, as you mentioned, that they were top 5? Is there anything in particular that you see that's kept it from being as dominant as it was early in the year?
Well, teams and units are going to go through change over 17 games. Guys get hurt. Teams watch film on you and figure out how to beat you. And then once they figure out how to beat you, we make the adjustments. Once upon a time, teams just used to throw at Trey Diggs all day. We're just going to throw the ball at Trey Diggs, and Trey Diggs gets 14 interceptions. Teams stop throwing the ball at Trey Diggs. Now he has to figure out how to, not get double moved when they do go at him, right? Michael Parsons is a guy that, hey, we just going to hold the ball all day. Joe Burrow did it. We're just going to hold the ball all day and just throw the ball deep on Dallas all day. And then sacks happen, right? And then you got to go, all right, well, let's get rid of the ball quickly. So I think the Cowboys haven't been getting home because teams scheme on the fact that, hey, those dudes get home. But the Cowboys are still top 5. They second in sacks right now, but they're still top in quarterback hits and pressures. So the pass rush is still a great pass rush. It's just your job as a team, as a coach, a coaching unit or whatever, to take those Dallas strengths and superpowers and go, all right, man, we can't let Michael Parsons beat us. If you just walk into a game, you're not worried about Michael Parsons, then he's going to destroy you. Or D-Law or Dorrance Armstrong, they destroy you. But now it's the end of the year. It's week 19? It's week 19 now. So now we got this long whiteboard of people that we need to be worried about and people that we're not so worried about. So we played 17 games for a reason. Things are going to change throughout the year. It's just Dallas's job, Dan Quinn's job, the defense's job to go, all right, that's their chess move. This needs to be ours for us to get back to success.
So at the end of the day, Voch, if I hear you right, you think Big D gets by Tampa Bay on Monday night and advances on to the next round more than likely. That would mean a date with Philadelphia, more than likely.
100%, absolutely. This game's about matchups. Watching Tom Brady and his Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it has been a weird thing. Because they'll go out there and be terrible for 4 quarters. 4 quarters in 10 minutes. But then if the game is close at the end versus these bad teams, versus these Arizona teams, these Falcons teams, Panthers or whatever, if it come down to like one drive at the end of the game, sure, Tom Brady will pull out all of his magic points and try to win there. But I think if you get the game out of Tom Brady's reach, I think that's how you beat him, right? So I don't think this is on the Cowboys defense this week. I think it's on the Cowboys offense. I think if Dak Prescott and company, if they go out and they're efficient, they give Tony, please give Tony Pollard the football. They give Tony Pollard the football. They ignore Zeke. They throw to the good guys. They don't throw to the bad guys. If Dak throws the ball to the other team being aggressive, I'll take a Dak interception as long as I get 3 Dak touchdowns. I can live with, Brett Favre football. Or Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes football, but I don't want to talk about that. I can live with that if we put up 28, 35 points by the end of the day, because I don't think the Tampa Bay offense is going to be able to score that much. The past couple of weeks, I don't think they've passed 20, but they throw the ball with Tom Brady the most in the league. So, I got Cowboy win, unless Cowboys get in their own way.
All right. Okay, Voch. Well, you're the man. I can't thank you enough for taking the time on short notice to come join us today. Everybody's going to be watching that game. Go ahead. You going to call me an old man again, or what are you doing now?
I will not. So
you already did.
Well, okay, old man. Cool. So y'all are college football guys, right? So what do y'all think about the whole TCU debacle?
Let me tell you something,
about
Voch. I have skin in the game. You don't know this, but I have a daughter that's in college at TCU. So it has been a lot of fun to be a part of that whole ride through the season. Sonny Dykes has done an unbelievable job down there. They earned their way into the college football playoff. There are others who feel like they should have been there. I think it's safe to say at the end of the day, if you watched the season, outside of a hiccup here, a hiccup there for all the teams that play college football, no contest. The two best teams were Georgia and Ohio State. That should have been the national championship game.
So do you think with these college football playoff selection committees, right? I'm just gonna ask you this question, right? Do you think that the playoffs, the 14 playoffs, I don't want to go to 6, I just add more bad teams. Do you think it should be the 4 best teams or it should be the 4 teams that lost the least late? Because that's my problem with it, right? They make this the 4 teams that lost the least lately. And that's how you get teams that end up sneaking in the back. And look, every single year, we get the same stuff, right? We'll get these UCF fans and be like, hey, can we play? But they get beat by some SEC team in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Bowl or something like that. You know what I mean? Cincinnati was a team like that. You know, Notre Dame will sneak in because they haven't really had that test, and Alabama will smoke them, right? Should it not be a situation where we go, hey, look, I understand Alabama lost 2 games this year. They're in the SEC. Their top opponents that they lost to, that wouldn't have happened to them. Like last Sunday, Alabama wouldn't have lost by 50 in front of everybody. Right? Shouldn't that be the case?
I don't think there's – and I think that's why, Voch, are going to 12 teams. You can say there are going to be some crummy teams in there, but I think what you're going to do is, to your point, is you're going to weed out the teams that ultimately don't belong there. UCF, whoever it might be. I thought TCU deserved to be there. They were undefeated until they got to the Big 12 championship game. That was an unbelievable game down in your neck of the woods down there. They had earned the right to be in the top 4. So during the year did Ohio State and Michigan. I mean, look, Michigan was undefeated. Ohio State had one hiccup. Every team's going to have a hiccup. Georgia was undefeated. Alabama had their chance. I mean, in the crossover this year, they didn't play Georgia this year. They lost to Texas A&M. Texas A&M. Are you kidding me? You, me, and 9 other dudes could have beaten that team this year. So, I mean, come on. Come on. Alabama can scream and why. I just want to know, and I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. I just read this yesterday. Whoever the head coach is at Syracuse, what's his name? Do you know?
Fella,
I'm drawing a blank. I mean, he did a hell of a job this year. They were better than they've been in years. So obviously the guy's a good coach. But one thing he is not is somebody who should be getting a vote as to what the top 25 looks like at the end of the year in the final poll. That guy put Ohio State 7th. Are you kidding me? How does that guy get a vote? 7th? Behind who? Georgia? Okay. Michigan? Okay. They beat them. Right? We're going to 12 games. You're going to weed out all that nonsense. 12 teams.
But, you know, I even think, though, in college football, all right, listen, we have to sit down and be adults. All right? We have to sit down and go, okay, listen, I understand Ohio State lost to Michigan, all right? Ohio State's a better team than Michigan, but we know this. Like rivalry games do, weird things happen. Playing up to competition, weird things happen. To my Bama point, right? Every team gives Alabama their best shot, just like Cowboys sometimes, right?
Well, they do. You sound like an Alabama homer, Voch. You sound like an Alabama homer.
I actually don't have a college football team. I like coaches, I like schemes, and I like players. But just my whole thing is the first thing that just popped in my mind is there is this narrative that Alabama didn't belong there, but the team that was there, it wouldn't happen to them. You know what I mean? So I just got questions.
All right, okay. All right, let me ask you one draft question before I get you out of here, because we were talking about this on Tuesday after the national championship game on Monday night. Okay. Stetson Bennett. All right, we've reached a point in the NFL. There was a time there, and I've heard Sean Payton talk about this, where when Drew Brees signs as a free agent, Brees was not a big man, not like the Josh Allens and the Joe Burrows and the Dak Prescotts, on and on and on, Herberts of the world. But Breeze was one of the all-time greats. So whatever you're shaking your head. You're already answering the question. No chance Bennett gets a shot in the NFL? None?
I mean, he can get a shot in the NFL. I mean, Pat White got a shot in the NFL. Pick one of these TCU quarterbacks that got a shot. Yeah, he'll get a. Josh Dobbs playing.
Wait a minute,
right
Andy
now.
Dalton had a pretty good run in the NFL. Now, hold on. Now he took six teams to the playoffs. Come on.
Not him. It was not him. It was one of these other TCU quarterbacks, little running quarterbacks, but they went to the league and played tight end or something. One of those guys, right? Whatever. Long story short. Listen, Tom Brady and Drew Brees, right? They're the exceptions. They're not the norm. And the thing about Tom Brady and Drew Brees, they make people feel like the non-talent dude. Their talent shoulder up. But I'm talking about shoulder down guys, right? Like they make people feel like the low talent dude can have a shot. And every time we see one of these low talent dudes, what we say? Oh, he could be Tom Brady or Drew Brees. But for every dude that could be Tom Brady or Drew Brees, there's 300 other dudes in that same archetype that end up not working out, right? You have to have arm talent. You have to have, legs. Run. You have to have some type of. You got to give me more. And look, shouts out to Stetson Bennett, but he's had some of the best college football teams around him of all time, right? All he got to do is throw the ball. He has made some throws. Shouts out to Stetson Bennett. He's made throws, but these have been wide open ass throws, or these have been schemed open throws, or his defense will bail him out of some nonsense, right? At the end of the day, you can win college football games. Tim Tebow's probably the best college football quarterback of all time besides Joe Burrow or whatever, right? But when you get to the league, things just get different, man. And, just because you were this dude in college, this good college quarterback guy, we stop looking at what you did in college and we just look at your traits. Stetson Bennett ain't got traits. Shouts out to him. Duggar from TCU, shouts out to him, but I don't think he's going to be a college. I don't think he's going to be a pro football. He just ain't got the traits. He's a good player for this level, but traits. But that's my answer.
All right.
Sorry
Paul Voch is beating down our guys at TCU. He's beating them down. I can't believe he's beating them down this bad. One of the great stories in recent memory, and he's kicking them. He's just kicking them down. All right,
How about this though? One more thing. Who has a whole bunch of traits? C.J. Stroud. And when you watch him, you see the traits, and you go, "Hey, that dude is a college. That dude is an NFL quarterback." You look at Stetson Bennett and go, "Yeah, maybe." Right? And then these dudes in college, if you look at them and guarantee that they're pro-level quarterbacks, they still may not even be good. So I'm always taking the talent and not the.
Well, I'll tell you the dude that I'm not sold on, and a lot of people are apparently, Voch, and you've watched him, is the kid out of Kentucky. Now, he matches the prototypical big, strong, Levis, Will Levis.
Yeah. Will Levis.
I mean, I look at a guy like him, and again, I'm no evaluator, and I'm not going to pretend to be one. I have this conversation with Brian Billick all the time. I look at C.J. Stroud, and I look at Will Levis, and I say, are you kidding me? And there are a lot of people that tell you that they think Will Levis is a better player. I don't see it. Maybe you see it.
So there's this new thing in the National Football League where offense coordinators they make it easier for these dudes that have talent, right? So shouts out to Bills fans, by the way. And what I'm going to say in 2023 may sound away, but they would think that this Josh Allen was bad thing was a narrative. It wasn't a narrative. Josh Allen was terrible, but he had this baseline set of traits that some dude that takes players could take those traits and he could fix small things. And now Josh Allen is a good player, right? I think that's what they're seeing with Levis. To be fair, that might be what they're seeing with the kids from Florida, Richardson.
Yeah.
He's not a good player right now, but he has traits. And if you have traits, these pro-level coordinators, these pro-level scout guys, they can take those traits and do something with them, right? My whole thing about Stetson Bennett is Stetson Bennett ain't got none of those traits. Like Will Levis has many more traits than Stetson, regardless of who looks like the better quarterback right now.
Yes, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Voch, great catching up with you. We get closer to the draft, or if the Cowboys can sneak by this week, we'd love to have you come back. I tell you, Voch, sure. I think they're in trouble. I got to tell you, I think they're in trouble. That's just me.
Well, that's okay. And whenever I come back, and if the Cowboys win, I will show up with great vengeance and furious anger and put on a good show for your audience there. So,
I'll buy you a 3-way of Skyline chili or Gold Star chili.
Appreciate it. You have a good one.
All right, buddy. Great to see you, Voch. All the best. Godspeed ahead. Great dude. Love having Voch on. Now, there's a guy that brings it.
Well, we talk so much on this show about finding the right guys from the internet. You know, you go and you get Zim Hude, and you go and you get guys like Voch. We've had other guys, Big Low Country.
Yeah, Big Low. Love that guy.
Me too.
I wish they'd have made the playoffs so we could have had him back. Big Low Country.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's always a delicate balance, right? We get guys like James. He gives you the more serious and more in-depth information in a short period of time. Voch has got a little bit more character, but he's just as knowledgeable. And yeah, I mean, if anyone has recommendations at all, put them down in the comments. I'm always searching for people to bring on the show.
Yeah.
We have Engraven for tomorrow. The Ravens guy we had on a couple. Not a couple weeks. It's been a month or two now.
Yep.
But he's really good. That'll be a really good interview to have. But yeah, so we always are thankful for Voch on short notice too.
Really nice to him. You mentioned Engraven's coming on with us tomorrow. The guy was great, and we had him early in the year. I mean, he is all dialed in on what's going on in Baltimore. So he will bring a unique perspective with a lot of depth, I'm sure, as to what's happening with this, Lamar Jackson situation. They signed Roquan Smith to this huge contract 2 days ago. He, by the way, was named the AFC Defensive Player of the Month today. Joe Burrow, most people felt would have won again. It would have been, I think, the third time this year, right? Player of the Month, Offensive Player of the Month. But, they had the game with Buffalo that didn't even last a quarter. And, I have to say, in my days announcing the NFL, one of the guys that always caught my eye, guy's just a hell of a player, was Jerick McKinnon. And he has been through, I believe, 2, if not 3 major knee injuries with ACL stuff, cut loose. He signed a big deal with leaving Minnesota, going to San Francisco, got hurt. And then Kansas City takes a flyer on him. I thought that was a guy the Bengals should have taken a long, hard look at. And this isn't Monday morning quarterbacking here. He's a tough dude. He cares. He's very talented. He's come all the way back. And he was named the AFC Offensive Player of the Month today for how well he is playing in Kansas City.
Yeah, he won a few fantasy leagues for some people.
Would you be one of them?
My fiance, but she didn't quite make it to the championship. I actually dethroned her, but she got to that point.
Hold on.
That was the most subtle dig
I've ever heard. What did you just say?
I dethroned my fiance from getting a chance at winning the fantasy football championship.
Wow. How did that go over?
Not very well. Because I will say this is we don't really cover fantasy in this show at all, but if we did, oh man, it was really tough because the championship week was also the day that betting became live. And you know where my focus was? Betting. You know what I didn't set?
What?
Any of my lineups.
Yes.
Lost every single championship game. So I was in 3 of them.
Yeah, so that's why I stopped playing fantasy football. I just couldn't. I don't care. My interest level, once I started betting like 2-3 years ago, my interest level just shot. Because I could spend $100 on an entry fee for fantasy football for a whole season, or I could bet 4 $25 games on a Sunday and get the same value out of it. Or I got to spend a whole season waiting on maybe seeing that money back.
So doesn't fantasy football, I've never been a fantasy football player. Fantasy football ends when the regular season ends, right?
Yes.
So you actually back up and have the playoffs with 4 weeks left in the regular season, something like that? Am I right on that?
Yeah. That's why people get screwed over at the very end when people say your quarterback is Joe Burrow and the Bengals had sat all their players on Sunday. Then you get screwed because you might have a great team, but if you have a really, really good team, you might have a quarterback that.
So if you had Jalen Hurts, I mean, you were in a world of hurt.
Tough.
You had him during the regular season. He's racking up all kinds of points, and then you got him, and you go in, and he gets hurt, and he doesn't play for 3 weeks, right?
But I did have him in one of my leagues, so I was hurting. But Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. She definitely would have won. I just somehow snuck one away from her. It was tough, but I maybe in the future we'll do a fantasy show. It won't be super long because there's not much to talk about in fantasy except for sneak picks or the week and pickups and whatnot. But I always enjoyed it.
I did fill a spot last year on one of my friends' leagues. They needed one more guy, so I filled a spot, drafted, never checked my lineup, never changed anything, declined every trade I was proposed. Just stuck with my guys, right? Drafted my team, I rolled with my guys. Turns out about 8-9 weeks in, they were like, hey, we have a punishment. And I said, I'm not doing a punishment. I didn't check this thing one time this year. So I started actually trying in the league, ended up going like 6-2 to end the year, but I had already lost I was like 0 for my first 8, so it didn't matter.
That's tough.
Tough.
You know, there is a guy who has a punishment that hasn't quite fulfilled it yet.
That's true. In this office, Reed Mouse is to swim the Great Miami.
What happened?
I'm not exactly sure what the story is. But
I don't know what the story is. Reed can say it
tomorrow. Wait a minute. You just brought it up. You can't bring it up and say, I don't know what the story is.
He's got to swim to Miami for some reason.
I mean, come on. That's like saying somebody say, hey, I heard something about, Susie over there.
Reed can come in here. He's out here. He's outside listening to the show. If he wants to come in, he can come in. Or else he can do it on the box lunch tomorrow. For some reason, he's got to swim across the river.
Alex says it still haunts her to this day.
Yeah. I mean, it really was not fair.
It can't haunt her that much. She's still marrying you in June.
It's true.
Right? So it can't be that bad.
I'm in the cat house.
There he is.
There he is.
Reed, I mean,
Get
I think it's unfair. Reed going to join us here
Reed.
real quick. It's Bush League what they just did. To say, well, I heard something about Reed Mouse. And then the second you ask him, well, I'm not sure I have the whole story. You know what they're talking about?
Me swimming across the Great Miami?
There it is.
Love it.
So I've made that a bet a few times for different reasons, and I'm going to swim across the Great Miami. So every high school football coach in the area, every high school basketball coach constantly asks me, when are you going to swim across the Great Miami?
Right.
So it's on the docket. I always say it's got to be nice and ripe. The new thing is when Baden High School builds a football field, I'll swim across the Great Miami. So that's the bet.
So have they built a new football field?
They're working on it. They need
Okay.
some Thom Brennaman dollars.
Does the Little Miami down where I am, you talking the Great Miami or the Little Miami?
Thom, I mean, we're talking big rivers here.
Okay,
The
so
Great
that
Miami.
gets a question I was getting at ultimately because the Little Miami runs right down the street from me, and it doesn't get very deep unless it's like today, a ton of rain. You're not going to do it in the winter. You know what I'm getting at here.
Right.
Is it deep enough to actually swim from one side to swim without dragging on the bottom at points of it?
Well, here in Hamilton, we have 2 dams to keep it nice, keep
And
the
full.
water level nice and full. And just to make it a little more dangerous, I think I got to swim near the dams just to make it a little more dangerous.
You mean upriver from the dams?
Just right in the middle of the 2 dams, right here in downtown Hamilton. Right
That's not a
underneath
good
the
idea.
Not a good idea at all,
That's
Tom.
not a good idea.
I got to do it when it's really cold, too, so the body shuts
It's a
down.
really, really bad idea. I mean, if you're downriver from both dams, okay. I'd even go and do it with you.
You a swimmer?
Yeah, I love swimming. Yeah. I never was as a kid, but I had to do it. I've broken all kinds of bones in my legs and that kind of thing, and so through the years, and so I've had to go learn how to swim to get exercise. So I mean, like this summer, I'd go out a couple days a week, go a mile, something like that.
Swim a mile?
Yeah.
So you run 5.
Well, I mean, not every day, but a lot of days, and I mean, I can go out. I could go out right now and swim a mile.
Is a triathlon on the docket
No,
for you? Not
no.
an Ironman, just a little guy.
No chance, none. And I'm not in that good a shape. Obviously, just take a look. But I can swim a mile is the point I'm making. But the ultimate point I'm making is I would swim with you if we were below both of the dams. There's no way with currents and all that kind of thing. There is no way on God's earth. How far apart are the dams?
There's one right here on the north side of town, probably about a mile. So
you got a mile.
Got us plenty of space.
Okay. Well, you know what?
You and I, come on. You got your swim trunks with you? It's a beautiful day for it. The water's nice and warm.
The water, is not nice and warm. And actually, the temperature outside, you could go do it.
Yeah. All right. I'm done commandeering your
All
show.
right. Well,
Thanks,
it's
Tom.
good to hear. Now we know. Now we know.
And the one thing, too, is, like, we have an opportunity here. We could make a documentary out of it, and we could make it a really big deal, promote it. Because it'd be a huge deal around here.
Swimming in Miami.
Swimming in the little Miami.
Well, Nick Kirby, he's going to be doing some stuff with us this baseball season. I mean, he's totally dialed in with the Reds, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
now he's on the chat. Says we need a live stream of this swim.
Well,
Absolutely.
If that happens, it would. We would.
There would be a huge event. We would make it a big deal.
I mean,
Yeah.
the funny thing is, it would probably take a minute to swim across it, maybe 2 minutes.
To
Max.
swim far across, I mean, it can't be more than, it's less than like a quarter of a mile, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking like maybe a minute, 2 minutes to swim.
Well, I mean,
across
depending on the current. I mean, the current's a big deal. But no, I mean, it wouldn't take a quarter of a mile. I mean, it'd take you less than 5 minutes.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially for you, Tom.
There's no question. A real man. Somebody asked here on the quite.
a
Somebody
real
said
man.
a six-pack of abs. I can't spell abs. I never had 6 packs of abs. Wish I did. No chance. 0. N-U-N, none. That's for you young guys.
I'm too skinny for that.
Zachary says keep an ambulance around. The live show.
The live stream would
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
Betfred, come through on the odds. It's a good idea.
It is a good idea.
Reed Mouse, Thom Brennaman, -110.
Yeah, I know since
Who
we've
you
partnered
taking?
with them, like we have opportunities to do promotions with them.
I'm
but-
not sure we can have a sanctioned event on Thom Brennaman and Reed Mouse.
You're not sure we can or should?
I feel like that's something you could probably rig pretty easily.
Rig? You mean like a who would finish faster?
Yeah.
Look at Reed. The guy's an animal. He's strong and all that kind of stuff. I'm not competing against that guy. I mean, that's a sure loss for me.
I like how you're kind of couching this. You're giving him the edge. You're letting him think. Come out here, swim the Great Miami.
Smoke them.
You got it, Tom.
You might be onto something there.
Yeah.
You might.
Yeah.
We got the Tracer coming up at 11:30. And I mentioned earlier he wants to get into this whole Keith Hernandez book tour interview thing. And I'm sure Tracy will have some stories about back in his day when he'd be out with some of the buoys. Maybe the night before a game, especially at Wrigley where you're playing all the day games, back when those guys were playing. They had just put in the lights in 88. And so we will talk to Tracy about that and a few other things. Were you guys surprised how confident Voch is in A, the Cowboys, B, Dak Prescott? I agree with him 1,000%. I think Dan Orlovsky does a fabulous job. He seems like a really good guy. Clearly, that list, you want to put that back up? Can you pull that up again?
Yeah, I'll pull it back up.
I mean,
Just give me a
seriously,
second.
come on. Come on. I'm not a Dak guy, okay? And there are a lot of people that are, and they would have stats to back up why they are. And, I mean, he just gave you a perfect example, the Philadelphia game. He's 24 out of 24 in that situation he talked about. I mean, and they put up 40. So I'm not a big Dak guy. But there are games where he looks like the best quarterback on the planet. If you just took that into account, that he is capable and has proven that on any given Sunday, like the old movie title, Al Pacino, on any given Sunday, he can look like the best quarterback in the NFL. Would you say that about all of these other guys that are listed in front of Dak Prescott, the way Dan Orlovsky ranks them of those that are going to be in the playoffs? Do you think, now we've seen Mahomes do it, we've seen Burrow do it, we've seen Allen do it, we've seen Hurts do it. Herbert, I don't think Herbert's better than Dak Prescott.
Wow.
This is the first time Herbert has led his team to the playoffs. He has been as up and down as – now, caveat, offensive line decimated. Same old's true in Dallas. They've lost 2 of their starting offensive linemen for the year. Herbert does not have the track record that Dak Prescott has. Period, end. Never won a playoff game. And his games of monster games are much more spread out than Dak Prescott monster games. Lamar Jackson? Brady, you're just picking on the past. You're not picking on Brady today. Daniel Jones? Geno Smith?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Now, Cousins falls into the Prescott category, where 1 week, 370 yards, 4 touchdowns. The next week, what Dak did over the weekend, and like we saw Cousins do this year. Who was it? It was Dallas that boat raced them, right, on Thanksgiving? Like 40-3? Something like that?
Yeah, Dak. Yeah, Dak killed them.
Okay, so you get the point I'm making here. I mean, how can anybody, seriously, fellas, how can anybody rank Daniel Jones and Geno Smith, and for that matter, Kirk Cousins? How can anybody put those 3 guys ahead of Dak Prescott?
I could give you Daniel Jones. I can't give you Geno Smith. At least Daniel Jones, you're consistent.
Consistent what?
I'm out on Dak. I don't think
Hold on.
I don't think Dak's any good. I actually kind of like this list. I'll be honest.
I would rather have Geno Smith over Daniel Jones.
I'll be honest.
I think Dak Prescott's better than both of those guys.
I'll be honest. I don't think this is a terrible list.
What?
In fact, if anything, give me Brock Purdy the way he's playing right now.
In his career, Daniel Jones does not even have a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio in his career.
But we're sitting here talking.
I mean, come on.
We are sitting here talking about a Cowboys team that we're seriously sitting here having a conversation about whether this Cowboys team should be worried about the freaking Bucs.
Well, that's
what are we doing?
The only reason we're having this conversation is because the guy they're playing against is Tom Brady.
Yeah.
If they were playing against, pick teams from both conferences, okay? If they were playing the Jaguars, the Chargers, okay, on the other half of the bracket, if they were playing Minnesota, who they've already played this year, and quarterbacks like Cousins, Baltimore this weekend with a great defense, but no Lamar Jackson, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Dallas has played the 3rd toughest schedule this year in the NFL. The Bengals, for the record, have played the 17th toughest schedule in the NFL. Dak Prescott, and again, I can't believe I'm sitting here going to bat for Dak Prescott. I mean, come on. Daniel Jones has played in 17 games this year. He has thrown 15 touchdown passes.
Come on, that's elite.
I mean, come on. Now, in fairness, one thing he does do extraordinarily well is run the ball. He's run for 700 yards. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I would take – so if we're going to just look at this one more time, I would take everyone on the left side in order from what they are. It's the right side that I just can't get over. I mean –
maybe you put
Dak, I'm with you.
You put Dak at 8, Trevor Lawrence at 9, Daniel Jones at 10.
I would put Geno at 10 still. And then Kirk Cousins.
You take Geno over Kirk Cousins?
Yes.
I'd probably realistically, like, not trying to be funny here, I'd probably put Dak at 8. I'd put Trevor Lawrence right behind him. I'd keep him at 9. I'd put Kirk Cousins at 10. I'd put Geno at 11. Have I said Daniel Jones yet? Probably Daniel Jones at 12.
Okay.
Not like trying to do a shtick. Like
now,
actually,
in fairness,
like
Dak has thrown 15 picks this year.
What?
He missed a lot of time. He's thrown 15 picks.
Dak?
Dak.
Oh, I mean, I'm not a Dak believer at all, but I will give you credit that he's better than all
I'm
those
not
guys.
in the big game. I'm not a big believer in Dak.
Yeah.
But I still think that, what we've seen from Tampa Bay this year, I think Brady, I think everybody would agree, this isn't breaking news. I think Brady has had halves of football, case in point the Bengals, where they look like a real team with a real chance to knock off somebody who's favored. But then there'll be another half. What was it, 11-play sequence? They turned it over 4 times against the Bengals in 11 plays, right?
The Bucs.
The Bucs. Yeah. So, but we're going to have our picks tomorrow. We're going to have a guest picker here just for the weekend, kind of like College Game Day. We're going to have Luke Brennaman in here.
Let's go.
It's going to be a good time.
He thinks he has all the answers. We'll find out how good he is.
So is he going to pick every game, or is he just going to do – because I know –
We're just going to do the games for this weekend. Oh, no, we'll include him because tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to create a bracket, and we are going to pick who we think will get to the Super Bowl and ultimately win the Super Bowl. No point spreads.
No, yeah. Well, I think we can do that. There's a site that you can do that. I go in and find it. We can kind of do it like what we did with the bowl season. We can create like a little group and see who gets the most accurate playoff bracket. I'm pretty sure we can do that. I know you can do that in Major League Baseball.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
And by the way,
Casey's going to make a list of the luckiest quarterbacks in the league.
The luckiest?
Yeah.
I can do that. Bring it in for the
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll have Patrick Mahomes at the top of that list, right?
As the luckiest? I actually don't think he's the luckiest quarterback.
Who's luckier? I'm not saying he's not. I'm just
out of the current quarterbacks. Tom Brady has had a really lucky career.
Oh, what?
He is great. Don't misconstrue what I said.
What?
Don't misconstrue what I said.
Brother.
Don't misconstrue what I said. There's a lot that has to go right for you in order to be the GOAT. And there's no taking that away from him. I'm not taking that away from him. We're not going to get into this debate. Tom Brady is the GOAT.
Lord.
But he's had a very lucky career. Think about it.
Oh, my Lord.
Lordy. Cut it.
I don't think that's a I don't think
God.
that's a stretch at all.
Oh. Okay.
Patrick Mahomes is probably number 2. But both are great quarterbacks in their own right,
But Tom Brady's just lucky.
No, that is not it.
Those are 8
that is not
combined Super Bowls. And that's about, 13 or 14 combined Super Bowl appearances?
You guys are misconstruing what I said.
Okay, I'm listening.
I said that he is the greatest of all time.
Okay.
He earns that respect. He's a great player, maybe one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But in order to do that, you have to have some luck. And for him to have had 9 Super Bowl appearances in his whole career, which is 20 plus years, so almost half of his career he's been in the Super Bowl. I mean, the dude he doesn't know what it's like to sit at home during the playoffs. He's been in it for so long. So to me, he had a really, really lucky deal that he had Bill Belichick as his coach to have one of the greatest defensive stretches for as long as he did, to have the longevity that he's had.
Well, the health part, there's no doubt he's been extremely fortunate. He's only had one season where he missed most of the year with an injury. No question about that part.
And I would say that when he departed from New England and then joined a team that was pretty much Super Bowl ready, I think that's kind of lucky too. But you have to get there, right? I'm not going to take any of his play away. I'm just saying the circumstances that led to him getting there are kind of lucky. And I would put that as...
CJ said hit the shot clock. All right. Okay. But I will say this. Look, everybody needs some luck. There's no doubt about that. So from a strictly clarification standpoint, there is some level of truth to what you were saying. It's not completely preposterous. I will concede.
You do have to catch some breaks, right? I mean, look at how Marshawn Lynch runs the ball. There's one less Super Bowl. You miss a field goal, there's one less. Yeah, you catch some breaks, but you also, this is what I always say when people talk about teams that are lucky, you're good enough to put yourself in that position.
Right, and that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying is people create their own luck, right?
Yeah, you create. Perfectly said, Casey. Okay. Perfectly said.
All right.
And
there we go.
That's how I feel about teams, is that they create their own luck. But, like, for example, I'd put Patrick Mahomes at number 2 because he throws up a ball, just chucks it up like a punt. And he's got one of the greatest receivers of all time catching it and takes it to the house. It's kind of lucky to win your first Super Bowl. Kind of lucky.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a break. We got the Tracer coming up at 11:30. So ponder some of these most recent statements made by one Casey McCollister. We're back.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time. And if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
All right, we're back. We're going to talk a little college basketball here before Thom gets back, which is going to be in a second. Cincinnati had a great win last night. Thom mentioned one of their best wins of the year. Offense looked great, scored 83 points, made a couple of runs to really separate themselves. Last night I thought they looked really good. I thought their shot selection was great. They shot the ball really well from 3.
Yeah, I was surprised that they won by like 20-plus points, right?
28.
28.
Yeah.
Oh,
Their biggest lead in the game was 30. They ended up winning by 28. Thought that was a really good win for Cincinnati. Not over a good team, but just that you're trending in the right direction. I mean, look at what Kentucky did a couple of nights ago. Just because you're playing a bad team, and to be clear, East Carolina is not anywhere near as bad as South Carolina. So just because you're playing not such a great team doesn't necessarily mean that it takes all that much away from the win. It's just it's an opportunity for them. You're not in a great part of your schedule. You have East Carolina, a couple more bad teams coming up. So if you're Cincinnati, get a chance to get yourselves right, get yourselves in a good position. Xavier, great win last night. And I'm to the point with watching this Xavier team that, you know, this is a much different Creighton team than they were a month ago. Creighton went on a 6-game losing streak, but that was without their best player. And now all of a sudden Creighton's back. They're scoring the ball better, but they've lost 2 in a row now. You got to look at it. Oh, they've lost 2 in a row after they snapped that 6-game losing streak. But it was at UConn and at Xavier. And I saw a stat, I'd have to go back and find it, of the top teams in the Big East: Providence, Marquette, Creighton, Xavier, UConn, what their record is at home. I think there's like 4 or 5 combined losses in conference play. So I'm kind of to the point with this Xavier team where, we've talked so much about the defense this year and how big the defensive issues have been. And, they're one of the best offensive teams in the country. I think the 8th best, 7th best right now offensive team in the country, but the 90th best defensive team. And so you're thinking to yourself, okay, does that concern you? Well, I'm to a point now where I've seen a big enough sample size with this Xavier team that I'm not sure if the defense concerns me. Like, yeah, maybe at the end of the season in March, maybe. But I'm to the point where, look at last night, Xavier was losing 70-64 with about 8 or 9 minutes left in the game. And they went on a 16-4 run. When it mattered, they got the stops. And so that's where I look at Xavier and I say, they can just flat out outscore everybody. And now they're to a point where they just want to get you into a track meet and they just want to outscore you. But in the end, when it matters, they do defend pretty well.
All right, but let me ask you this.
Okay.
I'll just play the advocate on the other side for a second, okay?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question.
Okay.
I'm not endorsing this, but I'm just asking you this. Would this be a fair assumption where we sit here in nearly mid-January?
Yeah.
Okay. They've beaten 2 good teams, and I'm going to say good teams. UConn's not a great team. They might be ranked whatever they're ranked, but I mean they're not a great team. They're a good, solid team. Okay? Yeah. It's not a team that's going to win a national championship, in my opinion. All right. Okay, you can disagree. Like I said, this isn't a statement.
Yeah.
But what can't be denied is this. They've played 3 good teams at home.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how good Indiana is.
Not good.
All right, but I'm
Not
saying
good.
Indiana beat them here.
Yes.
The other 2 games are track meets against both UConn and against Creighton last night.
Yeah.
And again, Creighton, you can argue all you want about Creighton, okay? At the end of the day, they're 9-8. And I know they lost 6 games, as you pointed out, without their best players. So in fairness, okay, fine. But they're 9-8.
Yeah.
All right. Of the good teams they have played this year, okay?
Yeah.
They lost to Duke.
Yeah.
They lost to Gonzaga.
Yeah.
They lost to Indiana.
Now, Indiana did have their whole team. The reason Indiana's been playing so badly is because they're
okay,
playing
but I'm
without
saying
2
they're
of
a
their
good
best
team.
players. You're right.
Okay,
You're
so
right.
I'm saying
You're right.
they've played 4 good teams. Creighton, we'll see. They've played 4 good teams this year.
West Virginia.
Okay, West Virginia. That's fair. They're good. But I'm talking about.
I
you
understand.
know what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, they've played Indiana at home.
They're winning a lot of home games.
They played. That's right.
Yep.
So the point the question I'm asking you, is it not fair to say let's wait a little while?
I do think
they got to go on the road and play UConn.
Yep.
Play
Providence.
Creighton. Play Marquette.
Yeah.
Play some of these teams that are good teams, not great teams. All right? You're not going to get the break here and the break there where every single time you play a home game, you're shooting more free throws than the other team, which they're doing.
Yeah.
And in that style of play, I'm not saying there's anything, with the referees involved here. But I'm just asking it, is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, I do think that Xavier will need to win some games away from Cintas to really set everybody over the edge and convince everybody that this team is as good as they are, because I think that their offense can carry them, and they have so many. You look at every single night, I see some people talking in the chat about, how good the offense is, and I think the reason that the offense gives you so much cause to be excited if you're a Xavier fan is because so many different guys can have an off night and other guys can step up. Adam Kunkel had a quiet night last night. Zach Fremantle had a quiet night last night, but it didn't matter. Jack Nunge stepped up and had a double-double after he's had a rough offensive game the last few games. So I think their depth offensively is what gives you a lot of cause to be excited about it.
Yep.
And the other thing we need to talk about, Tom, is Dayton. Dayton needs to win the A-10 tournament to get into the NCAA tournament because they had a terrible non-conference. But they have one of the best players in the country right now in Deron Holmes, and they are dominating the A-10. So if we're going to give love to Xavier and Cincinnati, and obviously deserved love to the way that Cincinnati won last night and to Xavier with how they're playing right now, Dayton is on a roll, and they have VCU at UD Arena tomorrow night. That place is going to be awesome.
Well, it's awesome.
That is going to be awesome up there. And Deron Holmes, and they are still without 2 of their best players for how well they're playing right now. So credit to, after a kind of rough December for some of the teams around here, things are starting to pick back up. Now,
Would there be anything better than UD playing at the UD Arena in the play-in games?
Yeah, and what's crazy is right now I don't know if that's even out of the question because the way that their non-conference set up, if Dayton wins the A10 tournament, you're probably looking at like a 13 seed because they played so poorly. But right now, I mean, they're starting to trend in the right direction, and they are by far the favorites in the A10. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out that they could play a home game on Tuesday in March. I wouldn't rule it out.
That'd be fun. That would be fun
awesome.
because it was fun last year having Wright State there. I was up there. And that's not their home floor, but it's their hometown.
Yeah.
All right. Richard from Indian Hill, of all people, was in the house earlier today. And just to tie around what Casey had said, Richard from Indian Hill believes this is Tom Brady's 48th playoff game.
Wow.
Think about that for a minute. He's played in more playoff games than the average player's NFL career lasts. So, you know, you're getting into Tracy Jones, welcome to the program. With a guy like Richard from Indian Hill, you're getting into, what's the fan index saying? What's that called?
That's the Fan Quality Index, FQI. Every team uses it.
So a guy like Rich, you know, sometimes you base that off, you know, monetary things, how much money somebody spends when they come to the ballpark, et cetera. Does intelligence level, research level, things like that come into it for Richard from Indian Hill to be able to point that out to the program here in the chat?
Tom, Richard is the complete package. I mean, he's intelligent, he's smart, he's got a good-looking wife. As a matter of fact, he's a client in my financial business. And what's crazy is we were at Ruby's having dinner with his wife, too, who's very, very attractive, 20 years younger than Richard. And you know who came up to come? Oh, Thom Brennaman. Isn't he so good looking? He's so good. She says, reminds of George Clooney. You do.
George Clooney. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Did she wear glasses, real thick ones?
She was a librarian at one time, I think. But one of those real sleeper librarians.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we all know about those.
Hey,
by the way, the new Rubies, and I mean, they're not a sponsor, but I got to tell you, it was my wife's 50th birthday over the holidays, and so we decided to go down there. That's a big league joint. There can't be 10 restaurants in the United States of America that are nicer than that place.
Now, was everything a la carte?
It still is a la carte, and look, you're going to reach in your wallet. That's a given, especially with what we're paying for everything, more than we used to pay in this day and age right now. But they bring their A game down there every night, and this new place is just, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, let me just say, because I'm an expert on money and I'm always trying to save money, but if you go to the precinct, it actually comes with a baked potato and a salad. So you get a Freddy salad, a baked potato for less than what you'd pay at Ruby's. But speaking of money, Tom, and this has been bothering me. I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning, really bothered. And it has to deal with one of your employees, Casey. And Casey, is he there?
He's here. Say hello to the Ham and Eggers. Casey and Paul are here, yeah. Tracer.
Casey, really worried about you, buddy. I got to tell you, you kept me up last night. I think you're going in the wrong direction with this wedding. Really bothered. You're spending way too much money. You're like trying to keep up with the Joneses, Tracy Jones type thing. You got to slow it down. When we talk about prime rib, when we talk about twice baked potato, open bar, buddy, you're spending too much money. And this is coming from a guy, swear to God, because I talked to Danae about this. You know how much my last wedding cost, boys? You ready for this? $57,000. If that wasn't a waste of money, I don't know what is. Because let me tell you something, Casey. After that night, it's downhill. And I know you're going to be the knight in shining armor to have this beautiful wedding for your fiance. But I'm telling you, it's 50-50. You could make it, like me and Thom, well, my second time, or you'll end up in a divorce. It's 50-50. Here's what we need to do. We need to take advantage of this fake generosity of the people that are coming to this wedding, to this reception. We need to take advantage of them. We need to nickel and dime them every way they look. We're going to get them. We're going to get them for some money. This isn't going to be a freebie for anybody. We're going to actually try to make some money. You'll have a little bit of expenses, but we're going to make some money. I've wrote down some notes. I was up, like I said, since 3 o'clock. Do you want to do it or no? Do you want to make money? Or you want to lose money?
I mean, I'm all about making money, but just to clarify, we did get rid of the open bar.
Okay.
Thanks to your advice. So we're all open to this advice.
Wow.
Yeah,
Big league move there. Listen to the tracer.
Yeah. Well, let me go through this. And Casey, you might want to get a pen and pencil and write some of this stuff down. Write big. Write big.
Hang on.
Come on, write really big.
Hold on, we got you.
I got a piece of paper, got a pen. All right.
The thing you hit these poor bastards with is parking. $15. All right?
Parking.
That's the big thing. Don't put anything like that on the invitation. So $15 for parking. Everybody pays for parking, right, Tom?
No doubt about it. No, that's a great start, Tracy. I mean, that's thinking. That's 3:30 in the morning thinking. No doubt. Continue.
Is this cash only? Cash only parking?
This is just the start. Second one, they walk in. You got to have a coat rack, right? You probably went to Ruby's. They had a coat rack, didn't they, Tom?
Well, I bypass the coat rack. I'm not spending money on that. But go ahead. Good idea.
Okay, that's fine. But how about a shoe shine guy? You're going to have some nice loafer, nice shoes. You got to get a shoe shine. Am I right or am I wrong on that? That's $10.
Well, the thing about that is, Tracy, you know how it goes sometimes. Unless you're the kind of person that takes your shoes in to get cleaned up regularly, there's a real good chance, like in my closet, that if I had to go somewhere really nice, like right now, a wedding, if I didn't have time to get those things shined up right before a wedding is a great idea. Please continue. I love these ideas.
We go into the ballroom. I don't know where you're having it, but I'm sure it's a big room. We charge them an entry fee. Again, that is, let me see, that's $10, $10, $20. Right there, before they walk in, $35. $35 before they've even just been into the room. And let me
Tracy,
tell you
guys, I would suggest that if you're going to do that with an entrance, okay, like that, what you do is like they used to do in the old days in concerts, where the first one through the door gets the best seat, right? So that's the way you set it up for people who want to sit closest to the bride and the groom and the reception, be able to easily get out on the dance floor, those kinds of things. Then, yeah, charging them to get in the door. Are you charging them at the church or just the reception?
Just the reception. Both? Well, let me, I don't want to gouge people, but I do want to take advantage of them.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
But we don't want festival seating. We don't want to riot the thing happened with the Who concert, right? That goes
No, that's
back.
right. We don't.
Okay, you talked about the open bar, and you're going to have to, on the invitation, put BYOB, okay? Bring your own booze, because people like to bring their own stuff. I know I'll be bringing my own stuff. They'll get all liquored up. That's what you want. And here's how we gouge them, people. Here's how you take the bottle from them. You put it behind a table. And then when they want it, you give it to them and charge them a cork fee, right? Corkage. So that's $10 right there, right? You probably paid a corkage fee at Ruby's, didn't you, Tom?
Well, I didn't, but I know what you're saying.
Okay, here's another moneymaker. Pictures, right? Those pictures cost you an arm and the leg. Casey, go get yourself a Polaroid camera. You remember those, Tom?
Yes, I do quite well. The ones that the instant Polaroids, where you take it and it comes right out of the bottom, right?
Yeah, I haven't used one of those since I used one taking pictures of a girl named Abby in Hawaii. And you know what's crazy? I took those pictures to get them developed. Tom, they wouldn't even develop those pictures. I don't know what was the situation there, but I didn't get them developed. But there, and you charge people $10 to get your picture. Casey, are you listening? Are you taking notes?
I'm taking notes. I've got it all written down. See, I'm writing it down right here.
$15. $15. Can I continue? Do you have any guys have anything to add?
I think you're right on your game. The only thing that you brought up that I think that you might have a problem with, I like the idea, is that the wedding is in June.
June 3rd.
I don't know how many people are wearing coats.
Yeah, good point. Good point. But let's skip that. But let's keep the shoe shine boy. Tom, what's your kid doing? Is there any chance that he can maybe work it?
Believe me, he'd love to. Guy's a worker, man. Guy's a worker. Luke would be there. He'd be there.
Here's a big moneymaker. Okay, you need to listen. It's called the money dance. Okay, so that's where people dance with either the groom or the bride, and then they put money in your pocket. Now, here's the key. You got to have the right song. And I'm thinking Stairway to Heaven. Long song, right, Tom? They'll be dancing forever.
Or Freebird. Freebird was the one back in our day, Tracer. Freebird.
Freebird's a really good one. I should have gone with that one. So they'll come back a second round and put money in your pocket. This is, Tom, did you have the money dance?
We thought about it, and my wife didn't have any pockets in her dress.
Okay, so you lost
Shame
out
on her.
Because I think we made about $4,000 or $5,000 off this. We still had
everybody who's wanting to dance with Danae, no doubt, right?
No doubt. Here's $100. Bank on it. The bouquet, throwing the bouquet?
Yeah.
Whoever catches it, the girl has to pay $100. Now, you can't tell them beforehand. You can't give them a heads up on this, or they won't do it. But you charge her $100. These are all reasonable fees. How about the garter thing, right? You throw that garter. Whoever catches that, that's $100. Now, in California, we have the girls taking their panties and throwing, but who wants stinky panties? Let's just keep it with the garters in the Midwest, right?
Right.
So that's $100. Again, I'm just keep going. You see where we're making some money. Do you want me to keep going? Because I've got some better ones now.
Wait. No, Tracy, what about charging for song requests for the DJ?
Well, but you got to pay the DJ, so you're not making the money,
well,
right?
But you can offset the cost.
Okay, fair enough. Go ahead. Good idea.
Yeah, I'll look into that. I don't know what we're going to do as far as the music. Let's talk about the prime rib. Casey, are you going away from that prime rib?
No, we're keeping the prime rib.
Casey, come on now. Potluck. This is Cincinnati. It's a Midwest, West Side thing. Just bring potluck. I mean, people like to bring their own dishes. I'll probably bring liver and onions because I'll be the only one eating it because nobody likes liver and onions.
I love them.
Marty? I know Marty's, okay, me and you, Tom, but no one else. See, it's a very cheap meal to fix. I think Marty's bringing a fruitcake. I talked to him, or a Jell-O mold. He's decided on which one to go with that. So you see where we're saving some money so far. We're saving a lot of money. Do you disagree with anything there, Case, or you all right with it?
No, I mean, I think all these are really good ideas. Of course, all this would be cash. Like, you can't use card. All this is
cash. Cash is king. Right, Tracer? Cash is king.
Well, you can Venmo. You could Venmo some money over to your account. Get an account set up, and you could Venmo. Here's a big one, Tom, and I don't know if you did this. You got to pay the priest, don't you? That had the wedding for you, right?
We're actually we're actually using her uncle, so that we got away with that.
Well, he's going to want some money. All right. And what you want to do with this is you want to go to Walgreens and get one of those fat $5 cards, right? And you don't fill it up with money. You fill it up with platitudes, compliments and all that. Make it really fat. And then as you see them, you reach into your waistband and you pull out a big fat envelope and you hand it to that guy. That will impress a lot of people. Remember, it's all about image. You want to show off a little bit. So just a couple of ideas there.
Those are all really good ideas, Tracy. I'm going to have to show this to my fiance and see what we can
well, normally she's dialed in on the program. I can't believe that she has not commented. She did earlier today. But we've not heard from her since. It would be nice if she would at least give us some kind of input. We're getting all kinds of different input here. Tracer's laying it all out there.
Okay, well, you know where else is a big expense is that damn cake. That damn cake's a lot. Yeah. Our cake was $7.50.
Well, look, the two biggest, the venue is a big hit money-wise. And normally for a lot of weddings, I don't know about you, Tracer, I don't know about you, Casey, but for a lot of weddings, the flowers are a big money hit. It's a big money ticket.
Oh, I forgot about the damn flowers. I'm sorry, Casey. Maybe next week. Let me think about it over the weekend how we can save with flowers. We can do that. I was thinking about the cake. What about this, Tom? What about getting like cardboard box? Because ours was like a 5-layered cake, right? right, to impress people. What about like getting some cardboard boxes and just getting big, small, build them up, like 7 cardboard boxes, get some, I don't know what kind of frosting, put it on that, show people the cake, and then take it back in the back room and just have a sheet cake, right? Just some cheapo sheet cake, and we just cut it out and give it to them. It's all about image. It's all about the visual. You want to think people think you're a big shot, Casey.
Well, that's a really good idea. We are, though, however, using nothing bundt cakes for the cake. So we're have you ever heard of them before? Little buntinis?
No, I don't have. I know Marty will volunteer to have the dessert as fruit cake, but it's not going to go around the whole crowd. I mean, that's not going to be the dessert for everyone there at your wedding. But I've never heard of those. What are they, bundt cakes?
Yeah, they're nothing bundt cakes, and they give you little buntinis. They're kind of like cupcakes, but they're bundt cakes. They're tiny, and they're really good, really good. But we had to purchase a whole bunch of them for 150 people, so it's like we had to buy like 300 buntinis for people.
I have to tell you, Tracer. Richard again from Indian Hill has weighed in, and he said, Tracy, he said, look, he said Tracy had a very, very eloquent wedding in California, going as far as to renting an entire winery. It was such an exquisite affair, says Richard from Indian Hill, that my wife wanted me to get married all over again. He said, I told her I don't make the same mistake twice.
It was so over the top because my wife was 40 years old, right? She thought she was going to be an old maid and never get married. Then she found, hit the lottery and got me $57,000. She pulled up in like a 1919 Rolls Royce, if you can believe that. You're talking about being posers. And I was thinking, I'm just thinking, who's paying for this? This is incredible. So, Casey, that's why I'm thinking about you, bud. I don't want you to make the same mistake. Now, I didn't have to pay for it because I married into money, but you get my point. Casey, because I'm sure you're paying for a lot of this, right?
Yeah.
Be careful, Case. Be very, very careful here answering that question, Casey.
I am paying for my portion, and
what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
What is
your
portion, Casey?
Portion? What does that mean?
I'm paying for.
He is watching, just so you know.
Yes, he is. He's dialed in. Nathan is dialed in right now. The father-in-law.
I'm paying my portion that we agreed to.
Wait a minute, hold on. This is on their tab. We're already trying to save them money. Let's not get greedy with this. You pay nothing. You pay nothing.
Nathan weighed in and says, yeah, what the hell does that mean, Casey, in capital letters? In capital letters, he just wrote that. I told you to be careful, Casey. Every single time you start getting into this stuff with Tracy, you end up in the cat house.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't say anything that wasn't true. I just said that I'm paying my portion. I am getting help, but I am having to pay my portion.
Okay, you have to pay for that dinner, right, that you had before, right, Tommy? Casey pays for the dinner and the honeymoon.
Yeah, it's called the rehearsal dinner, I think it's called.
Right. And I told you guys this. I never paid for a honeymoon. I still see how smart I am with money. I said, next year. And then it was next year. And 13 years later, I still haven't done it. That's how good I am about saving money.
Smart guy, Tracer. That's why he's a money manager, Case. He's giving you some good tips here.
I know. I need to get some more advice from him.
Well, I just cannot believe that your bride-to-be has not weighed in. She was on. She must have something going on. So nothing from her.
Casey's going to start leaving at 11:29 on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, that's according to CJ. It's probably a good idea.
It's real good.
Everett just said Betfred needs to create odds that this wedding is actually going to happen at this rate.
I mean, if Tracy keeps coming on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Those odds might keep going down.
That's like the Bengals line. It's changing by the minute.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Tracer, I want to shift gears for a minute. Keith Hernandez, one of the great all-time gamers in the history of baseball. He is in every form of the word. He is the old school, don't know how much it sells anymore, but old school, he is a man's man. Always was. Back in his days playing originally with the Cardinals, and he goes to the Mets, becomes this cult hero and leader, and won a World Series in St. Louis, won a World Series with the Mets. Gamer, great player, tough guy, ran the streets at night. Apparently, he's out with a new book. He's doing the whole book tour thing last night. I caught a little bit of that interview he did last night. What do you think about Keith Hernandez in this book tour and kind of laying everything out there?
Yeah, I was watching Tucker Carlson. I know you love Tucker Carlson, and they had Tucker had Keith Hernandez on it. I think the book is Bad Boy Keith, and he was talking about how he ran the streets and how he smoked in the dugout. And I was just thinking about how far players have come, Tom, right? I mean, he talked about staying out all night.
Yep.
Chasing, he was out all night.
Right.
And the ballpark at Wrigley without even sleeping. And that was his piece of advice. He says, if you're going to stay out that late, don't go to bed. He says, just go straight to the ballpark.
Yep.
And what I really liked about Keith, and I really respect him, Tucker asked him, he says, so you were out that game. You didn't play. He says, oh, no. You have to play for your teammates. He says, I'm not going to get caught, shorthanded, not going for a ball. And people say, well, you were out the night before. He said, those are the games I really focused in on and made sure I played well. And to his credit, he said he only did it, 4 or 5 times, stayed out the entire night, but he had pretty good games. I just thought it was great of Keith to say, oh, no. It was about my teammates, and I made sure that I played and played well the next day. And I think that's important.
The thing I loved about it, Tracy, when you hit the nail on the head, because it's exactly what stood out to me in part of that interview that I saw. I just love that a guy like him, and it's not to say there aren't guys playing today that wouldn't say the same thing, but I mean, he broke it all the way down to holding a runner on at first base at Wrigley after he had been out the night before all night and already said, as you just pointed out, there is no way I'm sitting out. Never going to happen. I'm going to focus, give it everything I got. But he broke it all down to the most minute thing and how many dozens of times this play and this moment can happen in a game where you're the first baseman and he's considered, if not the greatest, one of the 2 or 3 greatest defensive first basemen that ever played. And he talked about how he's holding the guy on at first. Now the pitcher comes to the plate. He has to move to his right. He was a left-handed thrower, if I remember right. He moves to his right, coming off the bag with the runner as the pitch is delivered to the plate. And how if a ball is then hit because he came off too slow, if a ball is then hit to his right and he can't make that play to his right, then it's first and third, and he'd be looking at the pitcher if he can't make that play and he knew he let the guy down.
See, he was all about his teammates. And by the way, he was the best throwing first baseman that I've ever seen. I mean, he could really throw. Most first basemen can't throw the ball, right? That's why you're playing first base, like a Steve Garvey, like a Frank Thomas. Those guys can't throw the ball. So that's why you're at first base. Very good first baseman. But, yeah, he was a gamer. But I'll tell you what, him saying that if you are going to go out and drink, you better come out and play. And there was a guy that I played with, Tom. I saw him out the night before drinking a bottle of whiskey. Swear to God, he didn't drink the whole bottle, but he drank a lot. And that son of a gun, I knew, because he didn't have the character. And he was a starter for us. He played every day. He wasn't going to play. And I said to myself, Trace, you're in the lineup. Better get your – and I'd been out too, as always. Always. And he did not play. And I thought, boy, you lost a lot of respect for me because you didn't go out and play because you were hungover. Players know that, and you lose respect. And Keith Hernandez was just the opposite. I'm
All
playing.
right,
and I
but let me ask you this, and I really mean this because, look, I was fortunate enough to broadcast baseball games for 32 years, day in and day out. The difference in the player as far as nightlife is concerned then compared to now is literally the difference between night and day. It used to be where everybody and his brother, you'd see everybody out after the game in this place or that place. It's not saying they're going out and getting hammered and staying up all night and women, and some of them did, some of them didn't. But the point was, you used to see a lot of them out. But we tend to glorify the Keith Hernandezes, the Mark Graces, the George Bretts. They were all great players. But Tracy, how many guys tried to do that and whose careers ended up falling apart from going out and doing that on a regular basis?
Oh, wait a minute. Did I just raise my hand? No, it's so true. It's so true that I had a hell of a time. But players are different. I remember a few years ago on my radio show when people actually used to listen to the afternoon show, I interviewed Jay Bruce, and he was in Houston. For some reason, he was doing some charity. Jay Bruce, a very straight up guy, right? So I asked Jay, after the game, do you prefer solid gold or cheetahs? And he looked at me like, what the hell did you, it didn't look at me, but you could hear there was a long pause. Like, what did you just say? Because they didn't go out at night, right? They didn't go to places like that. But I was trying to be funny. Wasn't funny, of course. But I just thought he had no idea. He'd never heard of solid gold. He had no idea what cheetahs was. And Tom, you might want to help the boys out there, the ham and eggers, explain to them. But Jay Bruce, those guys were straight. In fact, the Reds got mad at me for asking that question, which I was just trying to lighten it up.
Well, they ought to find other things to worry about. But I mean, it's a truth. I got to believe, don't you think, Tracy, at the end of the day, the reason we don't see guys going out like they used to, two reasons. One, all the social media attention, right? I mean, you can be doing something as innocently as walking up to a bar, fill in the blank in what town, whatever bar, and all of a sudden, a woman walks up to you, starts talking to you. Somebody just takes that moment in time, the picture, it's on social media, and now all of a sudden your whole world is turned upside down. I think at the end of the day, that's a reason why, along with the fact that I think there's been so much more emphasis on, your diet and the amount of sleep and knowing you're not going to feel well if you are out at night. And that's become much more of a priority now than it used to. But I think the social media part has been the number one reason that has changed. You agree or disagree?
Yeah, I can 100%. I asked Todd Frazier one time. I don't even think it was on the air. I saw him at Reds Fest. I said, so where do you guys like to go out? Who do you hang out with? What bars do you go to? And he says, we don't do that. He says, once in a while, we'll go to the hotel bar and I'll actually have a Coke. I mean, and I'm thinking, boy, have times changed. Todd Frazier would not be my roommate, or Jay Bruce would not be my roommate. I'm more of a Dibble guy.
Rob Dibble.
Now, he was fun. A lot of fun.
Wait, I got a question, Tracy, because I grew up in D.C., right outside D.C. in Northern Virginia, and Rob Dibble was one of the first broadcasters that I remember as a Nationals broadcaster. He was their color guy for a while before he got let go. Do you have, I'm just curious, as somebody that listened to Rob for years, do you have any stories or fun memories or anything about Rob?
Well, Dib and I used to be really good friends. I was in his wedding. He was in mine. So I know Dibs pretty well. One of these days we'll go back and talk about Rob Dibble because there's a lot there, and I think he was misunderstood. He's a very generous person, and he's a great guy. But during spring training, when he first made it to the 40-man roster and we went to spring training, he met me at the airport with a 6-pack of Mickey's Big Mouth. It was 11:30. I said, Dibs, let's go. Come on, Trace, let's go to Popcorns. And we would get in his car. He had a red Mustang, and his license plate was I pitch. That didn't go over well with the guys from the team. You know that, right, Tom?
Oh yeah.
Vanity license. Yeah, that didn't go over well. but he was so fun and had so much energy. He had a lot of energy. I mean, he only needed like 3 hours of sleep, and he was ready to go. Hell of a ball player, competitor. I like Rob Dibble a lot.
Boy,
Smart guy, too.
In his heyday, we can talk about all the guys and how hard they throw now and all that kind of thing. In his heyday, for about a 3 or 4 year stretch there, never been a more dominant guy on the mound to come out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
I would argue in the history of baseball. Not saying he's the best. I'm saying dominant.
One more quick story about Dibs. We were so tight that we were really good friends, and I had an issue with one of the players in our own organization. And you know how you have those 4 fields, Tom, and you're playing back-to-back?
Yep.
Well, I was playing at one field, left field, and I saw this guy who I didn't like in the organization. He was the one guy I didn't like. And Dibble knew it. He was out there pitching and friggin' nailed his ass right in the back. And he says, how? And so we talk. I says, you did it? He says, yeah, I did that for you. Because I know you don't like him. That's what kind of teammate he is.
Yeah.
Even if it was one of our own teammates.
That's exactly right. That's right.
That's
Tracer,
such a bad story.
You have brought incredible insight to Casey. We still have not heard from his fiance on the chat. She must be very, very busy right now. So I'm sure that he can't thank you enough. And as always, we can't thank you enough for your generous time here today.
Remember this. Trying to save you some money. Money buys happiness. Just remember that. Money buys happiness. And if you have money and you're not happy, then you're not shopping at the right places. Write that down.
Writing it down.
Tracer, have a good day today.
See you guys. Have a good weekend.
All right. There you have it. I mean, Casey, I'm really disappointed, and I'm not. I know that she has other things to do with her life, but I'm really disappointed that she has not chimed in.
I know that she wasn't feeling too well, and she's probably working right now, so she's probably just taking a little bit longer to complete all of her tasks for the day. So it's okay. I'll bring this list to her. This list right here, I have it all written down. All the numbers, everything that he gave advice on. Got it all written down.
Okay. All right. That is good stuff. Just trying to one last final check in the chat. Nathan came in, but then disappeared. So, everybody chiming in. Tracy Jones is the best. Some get turned off by him. Not many, but some do. He has been a real friend to you, Casey McAllister.
He really has. He's always looking out for me.
I hope a couple of years down the line or whenever it is, it comes time for my turn. Tracy is just as generous with his offers.
Yeah, but you'll turn into one of those guys, and I'm going to leave them unnamed.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Okay? I'll leave them unnamed.
I think you're naming them right now.
No, I'm not. I'm not naming them.
Okay.
But you'll end up one of those guys. A couple years from now, you'll have some Major League Baseball broadcasting job, whatever it might be. And all of a sudden, you'll have nothing to do with us anymore at Chatterbox Sports. I mean, both of you guys are reaching big fame and fortune. You'll be tired of working with ex-professionals.
I am an ex-professional.
As the saying goes. And so, you guys will be off to the, the big time. But we'll still be right here in Hamilton, Ohio.
I'll still be right here with you, Tom.
No. You will turn into like some of those other guys do.
Big leaguer.
I know a lot of them. Believe me. Guys used to be my friends when I was on top of the world. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, Paul, try to learn the lesson. Don't be that guy. All right. Do we have a UDF cherry on top today of this dynamic 2+ hours?
Casey does have one for us. Let's go.
All right. What do we got?
Oh, it's just a little something that Joe Burrow left for us all. Just a little message about the Bengals fan base.
Okay.
Excited. I know the fans will come out ready to go. That atmosphere on that Monday night game that we didn't unfortunately end up playing, that was the best atmosphere pregame I had ever been a part of. So we're going to need that again on Sunday.
Like ever the NFL or just
Ever.
like SEC-wise
Ever.
Pretty strong words there.
Ever.
They say that LSU can get rocking and rolling for a night game down in the Bayou.
I think it says a lot about our fan base.
Well, I mean, look, it's turned into an unbelievable situation down there. I think all of us, okay, if you can take off the glasses, all of us are in almost disbelief of what has happened over the last 3 years in this city. The way people have gone from feeling the way they felt about the Bengals. They might buy tickets and go see them, but, you know, the terrible years through the 80s and most of the 90s, Dalton comes around, A.J. Green, they get to the playoffs and get their tails kicked. Not just kicked, they get embarrassed. You stay with a coach who's around for 12, 14 years, and he's 500. And that's probably a good record for most of the talent he was given there. But when they did have good talent and good teams, they never spent any money. And now all of a sudden, here we are. It was 3 years ago, Zach Taylor's first year. This team didn't win a handful of games. And in walks one guy, that guy you just saw. And Katie Brown and Mike Brown and Troy Blackburn and all the rest of them decide, you know what? This is a special guy at a special time. We're going to spend money on the defense. We're going to spend money on the offense. They've always drafted pretty well. And now all of a sudden, look what you got. You got sellout crowds every game. It's insane to go down there and watch a game. It is among the very, very best in the NFL. And 3 years ago, if you would have told somebody that would be the deal, they'd have told you you're out of your mind.
Agreed.
But with all that comes expectations. Sunday night, you sit down at the table and you look across from the guests you have in your home, and you're staring down the barrel at expectations. Will they be met? This is like one of those Zen moments that you get on YouTube TV. You know how they bump the commercial out and all of a sudden they show the little hummingbird?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So think about that for a minute. All right, tomorrow Jay Morrison from The Athletic is going to join us. First time on the program. We're very excited to have him tomorrow. We're going to have Ingravens, who's dialed in. He's he's the guy on the Ravens. He'll tell everything going on. So we got both of those guys. We're going to have our picks tomorrow. My main man, Luke Brennaman's coming in as a guest picker tomorrow. Can't wait for that. He better bring his A game. Expectations. He better bring his A game. We don't settle for B games.
No, we don't.
All right, boys. Job well done. Thank you as always.
Not too picky. Me and Reed, we're going to go through the NFL weekend.
Is that coming up right now?
Right now, baby.
So you're going to give all the picks for the weekend right now.
And some college football stuff and a little bit of
What do you mean college football?
Oh, sorry, college basketball. And a little bit of things that we've noticed with people talking about with betting coming in. And we have Mike Schmaltz for his weekly picks.
Jay Morrison is from Hamilton. Did you know that?
I wouldn't have been able to tell you that off the top of my head, but I have heard that now that you say that.
Okay. It's reminded in the chat. And we thank everybody. U.S. veteran retired. Salute all of those who have or will serve in the United States military. All right, until tomorrow, Not Too Picky coming up next.
Yep.
And if you want to win a little cash, these are your guys. Big weekend. We'll
Huge
see you
weekend.
tomorrow.
All right.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
Day, January 12th, 2023. Paul Fritchner, Reed Mouse, Casey McAllister, and it is another episode of Not Too Picky. It's great to be with you. Have Mike Schmaltz coming up here in just a second. A few things that we're going to go over today. A full weekend of NFL picks that we're going to go through. And an unbelievable Saturday of college basketball coming up. Also, some things that we're going to talk about. Reed and I have been seeing some things both on Twitter, the Discord, everything else, with people talking about parlays, straight bets, all these. We're starting to see some trends come out with some newer bettors, so we'll talk you through maybe what you might want to know now as we get into a huge weekend so you don't crush yourself with college basketball in the NFL this weekend. You want to still be financially alive on Monday morning or Tuesday morning if you're still betting the Cowboys and the Bucs game. But somebody that has kept us financially alive for quite some time now over the last few months is Mike Schmaltz. And Mike, let's just talk about how these last couple of weeks have gone. How have you adjusted? You talked last week about how much you enjoyed, being able to actually wager on these games. So how's it been for you now that you've been a couple of weeks into this?
Well, I think you've got to manage the impulse bet. So I've done a couple of those live bets on basketball. It was later in the game, like 5 minutes ago, and you think something's going to happen, and it didn't. So I missed on a couple of those. But then it's a lot of fun. So over the weekend, I get a pretty good hit on the, Dolphins game. There was a bet out there that was like plus 3,300 to no touchdowns. And that was basically a preseason game. So that worked out great. I just took a flyer on it. I put $5 on it, and it paid off pretty well. So you've had it both ways. But it's been a lot of fun, and it's interesting to see how these things play out. And a 3 goes in at the end. I was watching a game last night, and I'm like in my head, all right, this is going to be a 3.5, and the team that was winning by 5 or whatever it was ended up losing by 2. But a late 3 went in off the backboard, so it makes it a little more exciting. It's a little more stressful, but it's interesting to watch it, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, when you texted us at the Bengals game, you texted me and you sent me a screenshot and you said, Paul, I got no touchdown in the Dolphins game at plus whatever it was. I was sitting next to Reed. I immediately turned my phone and I go, look at what Mike pulled off.
Incredible.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But that showed up, and I'm like, well, this is, again, it's turning into a preseason game. There's no quarterbacks playing in the game that are worth anything. So it was kind of a pretty good idea. So I went with it.
I see
but those
somebody.
are the things you can find out there, right?
I see somebody in the chat, Mike, saying that Jim Neighbors is back.
Oh, Jim Neighbors would be true.
Talking about you.
Yeah. Back home again in Indiana. You want me to sing that? Back home again. I'll go with 500.
All right. How many picks do you have for us today?
Real quick, I wanted to do this. So I'm wearing red and black, one for Georgia. And if you look on the pattern here, these are squares. So this is a tribute to Trace because I bet on TCU. I'm a square.
Oh,
so therefore,
no.
I'm going to wear this and own it and give that to Trace the Oracle, who is the Oracle.
He does foresee. Right.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's Tennessee football. I saw that clip, and I'm like, yeah, I got to wear squares today. So I'm a square until proven otherwise.
Don't be a square.
Don't be a square, Mike.
Don't be a square. We're trying not to be a square. Okay?
Yep.
All right, you ready?
Let's go.
Sling it.
Let's go. Hey, this is tonight. So UCLA is basketball. UCLA playing Utah. Mm-hmm. Utah's getting 12 at minus 105. Utah plays great defense, okay? UCLA beat Washington State 67-66. Utah won 67-65 in overtime. I think Utah's got a very good chance here to cover that 12. Both of them average about 11 rebounds a game. Here's the big stat that stood out to me. Utah is second in Pac-12 with defensive rebounding, almost 31 a game. So UCLA's guard-oriented. There's going to be some longer rebounds. Let's see if Utah can hang around and play some good defense. They only give up 62 points a game. UCLA gives up 61. So I think that's kind of a big spread for Utah. They got a chance. How about that?
You said Utah's defense is good. Obviously, UCLA is coached by Mick Cronin, low-scoring games. Do you like the under in that one as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you look at that Washington State deal, 67, 66, 67, 65, I mean, that's the mutual opponent. Now, Arizona's taken some hits. Utah beat them 81-66. Arizona leads, the Pac-12 in scoring with 86 points a game. Obviously, they give up pretty many as well. So it's interesting.
Now, does the nation's third longest winning streak for UCLA at 11 games, does that worry you at all?
No, not at 12 points. Maybe at 5 or 3, sure. I think UCLA probably wins, but the 12 is where I think that's a little generous, and maybe Utah can cover that just because of the defensive end.
Okay.
Paul,
all right.
Everybody can play defense. You can play defense. Not everybody can
It's right
shoot.
here.
It's right here.
It's right here. You got to slap the floor.
It's high hands, low leverage. Let's go. Play some defense.
Play some D.
All right, you want to talk about the Bengals?
Let's do it.
Who day?
Now it's at 9, so it was 8.5 this morning. It's minus 115.
It's at 9?
Even if it's 9 now. Or it was 9.
No, that's fine.
Minutes
No,
ago.
it's 9. It's 9 on Betfred.
Man, tough.
You
I didn't
sure?
get it.
I'm looking at it. Hold on.
It moved back? I looked at it like 40
man,
minutes
that's
ago.
brutal. I was
Yeah, it's 9 right now.
Yep,
So
it's 9 on
minus
Betfred.
110. It came down, though, so it's minus 110, so it's a little better. And I still think the Bengals covered. Oh, Lamar Jackson plays and played a while. They don't have another quarterback. When Hundley got a shoulder injury, they're going to have to run it. So Dobbins is good. Bengals still pretty good against defensively, balance-wise. Jamar Chase, he's going to play, right? This is some pretty good stuff here. So I like the 9. I like the anytime touchdowns a lot. Jamar Chase is plus 110. Seems like a great deal, especially if T. Higgins isn't in there. Dobbins is going to play for Baltimore, plus 200 anytime touchdown. Drake's plus 470 for an anytime touchdown. He scored in the game this week. And then the Ravens rushed for 110 yards with Drake, Justice Hill, and Gus Edwards. They're going to have to run it. And if they do run it and they score a touchdown, you got Dobbins or Drake, probably one of those two guys scoring.
This line still might move a little bit of ways because it's still very much up in the air who's going to play quarterback. You got to think if it's Lamar, it's going to go back down to around a touchdown. If it's Anthony Brown, it's going to shoot up even higher. So it's kind of an interesting – do you take it at 9 and hope that Anthony Brown plays? You're kind of gambling there.
Yeah, it's like you're putting two bets in almost. You're betting on who's going to be the quarterback and you're betting on the actual line. You don't really see this too much.
Well, I talked to Paul earlier in this week, and I was looking at 6.5, and I was like, if I'm going to bet the Bengals, you got to lock in 6.5 because it could only go higher. It's not going to if it's 5, whatever, but 6.5, it's going to go beyond that hook. And I didn't lock it in, so I guess I'm just going to just skip out on this.
I'm on the sidelines for this one.
Yeah.
You're on the side, really, not taking anything.
9.
Get some anytime touchdowns. You got to get some anytime touchdowns.
Well, we can throw around some props, but I'm talking about a spread.
Those are better odds. Those
Yeah.
are way better odds, right?
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, he just, they hit that 50, 60-yarder to him, and that was over one of the best defenders Baltimore has.
What about the total, 40.5?
Well, what was it? 20? It was 11 points, right? Last week, 27
points.
16, something like that.
And that barely hit the over last week. I think it's 40.
I think it's 40.
It's 40.5.
And the Bengals scored 3 times off defensive touchdowns. I don't think Joe Burrow played that well. He said he didn't play that well.
No, he admitted
so
that.
You get a second
he very
shot
much
at it.
admitted that.
Yeah.
So I think I like the under.
That's a hard one. I kind of like the under also, but I could also see where the Bengals could go out and score 35 and hold Baltimore to like 6.
Sure. Okay.
So what do? You just lay off it.
Yeah, I don't know. 9's a lot of points in a playoff game. 9 is a ton of points in a playoff game. But I might have to listen to you on the player props because I like that.
If Lamar plays and the spread goes back down to a touchdown, I think I'm going to take the Bengals.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh,
If it
yeah,
goes a
that's
lot
true.
lower,
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
But, defense wins. The Bengals have a better defense.
It's right here.
Right? With me?
It's right here.
Defense.
Logan
How
Wilson.
did Xavier basketball get better? They play defense. Now they're
That's
playing
true.
better defense. Defense, guys.
It's true.
That is the one thing you know about Xavier basketball. They play great D.
That's true. When
They play
need
great
to.
D. And we're also too close to the fire to talk about that, so we don't want to
All right.
Yeah.
let our emotions cloud our judgment.
What else you got for us?
All right, Jaguars and Chargers. Jags are plus 120, just on the money line. I kind of like that. I think it's possible, and here's why. Because the Jags throw for 237 a game. The Chargers have the 7th best pass offense, but the Jags run. They're 12th in rushing at 115. The Chargers are 28th against the rush. They give up 145 a game. Travis Etienne's playing better. They've got a decent core of receivers in Jacksonville. I think they got better balance, and I think there's a really good chance that they're going to end up maybe pulling that off at plus 120.
All right.
We are big on this show about we think the hedge is getting perception wrong, and the Chargers have been a very trendy AFC pick, right? Watch out for the Chargers to go deep in the AFC, and just what I've seen the past few weeks, I kind of like the way that Jacksonville is playing as well.
Yeah, Chargers are 20.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the Chargers I thought would have a better rush offense. They're 30th in rushing offense. They
don't score a whole lot.
A game. Yeah.
One of the biggest things with this is you think to yourself, you see a line, and a lot of people talk about this. We talk about the squares versus the sharps, whatever. You see a line and you think to yourself, why does this make so much sense? Some people say, well, this makes a lot of sense, and they bet it. And then the better gamblers will say, why does this make sense? Wait a second. Do I need to bet this, or should I bet the other way?
Right. Absolutely.
But I go back to the bold confidence that Trace Fowler has exhibited over the past one, and that is inspiring me to take off this square, to shed the square.
Don't be square.
Don't be square. Be sharp, Mike.
Don't be a square.
So if you take Jacksonville and they win, what are you going to wear? What are you going to wear on the next show? It's got to be something sharp.
I guess I'd have to wear some teal and yell like Duval. Duval.
Love it. Love it.
All right.
I don't know. Let's go with that. All right. Bills, Dolphins. Bills, you just said 9's a lot in a playoff game. 13's a lot in a playoff game. The Bills' defense isn't great, but Miami doesn't have a quarterback. Like, they're in deep trouble. Mostert's good.
Yeah, Tua's not playing.
Great running back. So they got to run, right? I think the Bills might cover that 13.
Okay.
How about that? And then there's what's the over? It's 43.5.
In
over,
Buffalo.
Under, probably under. Take under there?
Yeah, I was looking at
110?
So you think the Dolphins are going to play that badly that the Bills can cover the 14 points and it still go under?
The Dolphins didn't score a touchdown last week. It made me money, right? But they didn't score a touchdown. They can't score.
Yeah.
31 degrees in Buffalo this Sunday, so low scoring temperatures. The under's not a bad play.
Football weather.
Okay. We like that. Giants getting 3 against Minnesota. That's a tough one. I know Minnesota can score. I know the Giants can control the ball on the ground with Saquon Barkley, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Minnesota maybe covers the 3, but they're all over the place. They're a roller coaster.
This is the worst game of the weekend, right?
Probably.
Are we all in agreement?
No, I think Buffalo Miami is going to be terrible.
Yeah, that's going to be a bad game.
But at least you have
Buffalo.
Buffalo as a good team to watch to have some fun. Like at least something there is fun.
If you had to rank the top 14 teams, if you had to power rank all 14 teams in the playoff, these two teams are coming near the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in excitement level. I think these are bottom 2.
Is Vegas in the West Coast time zone or the Mountain time zone?
West Coast.
So this is a 1:30 game on the West Coast time zone. Ooh, something to look at.
Ooh,
Kirk Cousins. It's 1 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, that's a spin zone for you.
Beautiful.
Anything
All
else?
Right. What else we got? What you want to talk about Dallas and the Buccaneers?
Yeah, do you like Brady or do you like the boys?
Well, here's why I think Tom Brady's in a little bit of trouble here. His center is not playing. So the All-Pro center that they had started has been out all year with a knee injury. The one that they had in there just injured his shoulder, and he hasn't been practicing. I think they've got some issues on the line, and Micah Parsons is going to be an issue across the board anyway. So I think that gives Dallas enough for the 2.5.
Okay.
I think I like Dallas as well. I really do, because I think majority of the money's on the Buccaneers, majority of the tickets are on the Buccaneers, and that is literally they're betting on the mystique that is Tom Brady. And we've seen Tom Brady. He doesn't look great this year.
No, he doesn't. And I saw the opinion yesterday that he's kind of there's 3 reads to a play. This guy's covered, this guy's covered, this guy's covered, just throw it away. We'll try it again. And he's been doing that more quickly and more often this year. So I think Dallas has enough offense to get that figured out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. And then
Mike?
what's Monday night? Hold on. I like the 49ers too. I think the 49ers are a Super Bowl contender, boys.
So do I. Brock Purdy.
A lot of balance. It could be Bengals 49ers.
I wouldn't be afraid of a future on an NFC championship for the 49ers. Wouldn't be afraid of that at all.
No.
Yeah. So I think that's a bigger line though. Is that 10?
That is a bigger line. They've beaten the Seahawks twice this year by 10.
Yeah, it's 9.5. So 9.5 Seahawks or 9.5 Niners at minus 110. Yeah. That's a 42.5 as well, over under. And maybe that goes under on one-sided scoring.
Okay.
I
like those, Mike.
You're with me? You against me? What do you got? You with me?
I'm with you. I don't know if I love the Bills to cover and the under, but the rest of the way, I'm pretty much with you.
Okay.
You didn't have anything in there that stood out to me that I was like, no, wait, hold on a second.
Objectionable.
No.
And again, all inspired by Trace Fowler. So I've got the Utes red, I got Georgia, and I've got squares that we're trying to get rid of.
We're trying to get rid of. Yeah, well.
Shed the squares. That's the motto for this week.
Next week you come in wearing something sharp. You wear a tuxedo.
Teal.
That's what you do.
I'll wear teal. I'll buy a teal suit.
All right.
Duval.
All right, Mike.
All right,
Great weekend coming up.
Let's have a weekend.
Let's have ourselves a weekend.
Let's get a Porsche.
All right, guys. Let's go.
All right. There's a couple of things. So we talked a lot there about the NFL. I want to talk now some college basketball, and then I want to talk about we're in the Discord and we're seeing some people.
Discord.
Discord's been awesome.
It has been.
If you're not in the Discord, like every single night, we're not just doing this as lip service. Like every single night, all of us, me, Reed, Casey, Trace, Spur, we're all in the Discord. Seho's been in there giving his puck picks. Where is Seho today?
I don't know.
He's on a business trip.
He's making money.
Love that.
Casey, I'm going to ask you for a parlay in a minute, so be prepared for that.
So by the way, Paul,
be prepared.
Speaking of Discord, I gotta get something off my chest here real quick.
Okay.
Did you not get the joke, the gag I was doing about Texas last night? Did that fly over your head?
No, I got it. Why?
Oh, because you're like, I don't know what. I didn't know if you were doing a gag back at me.
I was doing a gag back at you.
Okay. I thought it just flew right over your head.
It was a gag off.
It was a gag off. Every time we both took Texas money line, and every time they scored, I was like, this Texas team is terrible. Every single time they scored, and then Paul comes in and chimes in and says, I don't know what you guys are talking about. This Texas team looked really good.
Yeah, well, so I came into the Discord so late because by the time I got home from Xavier, I turned it on. There was like 5 minutes left. I hopped in on Texas on the live line, but there were so many messages in the Discord that I was trying to scroll through it pretty quick, but I was also trying to catch up to what we were talking about. Mm-hmm. And Trace was on Texas, but I couldn't tell. Maybe you were sending so many texts about Texas being bad. And we also had somebody else in the Discord that was on TCU. So I was like, wait a second. Did Reed and Trace go against each other? And he's just pissed off that Texas is so bad and TCU can't do anything. Then I realized it was a bit, so I bit it back at you.
Love it.
Yeah. I see Chris B says he had a Xavier UC Duke Texas money line parlay that won over 300, plus it was boosted.
Hell yeah, Chris.
That's great. Let's go.
Bankrupting Fred.
But we're coming after Fred's ass.
Oh my gosh.
We are coming after that ass.
So you saw some things in the chat that you want to discuss.
Yeah, I just see some frustration, right? We're 12 days into betting, and I see a lot of people getting frustrated because now, I mean, we've joked about the almost always almost hits or whatever that we've joked about, but
Like we're seeing a lot of, oh man, I was 1 point away from $1,000, or I was one leg away from 300 less, or whatever it is. But that's why parlays don't win. That's why we keep telling you that if you take those parlays, say you bet 5 legs of a parlay at minus 110, that's going to pay you over $1,000. But if you go 4-1 there, you're up about 3 units.
One thing that we've been telling you, go more straight bets than parlays. You're going to be a more profitable bettor. A rule of thumb that I just made up on my mind on the fly is that for every 5 straight bets, if you want to parlay, do a parlay for every 5 straight bets. You'll be a more profitable. Parlays are fun. We do parlays from time to time too, but it's not the majority of way in which we bet. We're all about straight bets because, like he said, if you have a 5-leg parlay, you hit 4 of 1. You're up 3 units as opposed to just being out and missing the parlay entirely. Those almost always hits parlays, they'll keep almost hitting, and you'll keep getting a 0.
Yeah, it's brutal. Now, you go on social media, and that's the problem right now, is you go on social media and you see every time you turn around, all of these books are promoting these crazy parlays. And you sit there and you think to yourself, you're like, well, Donovan Mitchell hit 5 threes, and so-and-so hit 5 threes, and they're NBA players. How hard is it to hit 5 threes? I just got to get a couple of these right and I can win $1,000 off a $10 bet. No, there's a reason that they don't hit. So
there's a reason when you see casino billboards on the highway, they're at the slot machines, right?
Yeah,
that's where they want you to go.
Yeah, that the parlay is the lottery ticket slot machine of sports betting. So that's just what I kind of want to talk about strategy-wise, just because I don't want people to get frustrated when you might be a really good bettor. You might be going 4 for 5 on a night, but because you parlayed them instead of just taking them straight, it takes some willpower. But you got to understand that sports betting it's the long game, right?
Right.
I get if you want to try and get those odds up, if you want to try and hit something at plus 1,500, but if you just steadily build your units over the course of a year, you're going to be up in the long run if you keep picking those winners. Now, again, gamble responsibly.
Right.
For entertainment. This isn't
a job.
This is not a job. You're not consistently making profit here, but it's entertainment. Casey, how are we looking on the parlay?
I'm almost finished.
Almost finished. Okay. College basketball this weekend, we have an unbelievable slate of games. Tomorrow night, tonight, not great. We had a really good Tuesday and Wednesday. Tonight's not great. Mm-hmm. Gonzaga's at BYU. I'm going to tell you this Gonzaga-BYU game. The line's at 6.5 right now. Look for Gonzaga on the live line. They were losing at San Francisco, plus money, came back and won. Hit that huge. Losing at Santa Clara, plus money, came back and won. This game is at BYU. BYU is a much better team than those teams, and BYU is a tough place to play. No, you don't just go into the Marriott Center and win, Reed.
You don't go into Utah.
9:30 on ESPN. Look for Gonzaga on the live line. I didn't really love any sides tonight outside of maybe that Utah-UCLA game. I don't hate the over in the Gonzaga game either. But tonight. Tomorrow night, again. Saturday. Listen to Saturday. Arizona and Oregon, that's at 6. Kansas State, TCU. Kansas State went from unranked to number 11, deservedly so. TCU reeling. Duke playing at Clemson. Clemson undefeated in the ACC this year. Wow. Only team that's unbeaten in the ACC right now. Who would have thought that Clemson Tigers are atop the ACC? Down year for the ACC, but great for Dabo. West Virginia at Oklahoma. West Virginia needs to win a game. West Virginia needs to win a big game, Reed. They can't do it. They got to win in Norman on Saturday. Miami, the Fighting Jim Larinagas at NC State. Providence at Creighton. Oklahoma State at Baylor. Great Saturday. But as good as Saturday is, Sunday, Marquette at Xavier. Ohio State at Rutgers. Maryland at Iowa. It's the Big Ten. Big Ten plays on Sunday. Really good games this weekend. Yeah, go ahead, Reed.
Well, I was just going to say something about college basketball, and this doesn't have anything really to do with gambling, but I came to a conclusion last night, and all the greatness that you see in college sports, you can allude to Nick Saban winning national championship after national championship, Georgia going back-to-back, is the most impressive thing in college sports right now Kansas winning the Big 12 year after year.
Oh, man.
They've won 19 of 20 in the Big 12.
And the best basketball conference in the country.
Yeah, that is by far the most impressive thing that I can think of in college sports going on. We can go back to betting now.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think that you look at Bill Self and what he's done at Kansas and some of the things they've overcome there, but the talent he's had, and they win. They straight up win.
What was the pick of the day on the rebound rundown?
So the pick of the day, I compared it to Goldilocks. Not too hot, not too cold. We're just kind of mellow right now.
Right.
We win, we lose, we win, we lose. Pick of the day today was the Gonzaga over. It was set at 151.5. I didn't like any sides tonight. I really didn't. In fact, if anything in that Gonzaga game, I would lean toward BYU at plus 6.5. Ken Palm has this game projected at 149 points. So if you're looking at the computer, you would lean under. But Gonzaga has the fourth best offense in the country. BYU doesn't score at that rate. The problem with BYU is that they don't make threes. They're one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country. But that being said, they have had games this year where they have scored a lot of points. When they play a faster game, when they get up tempo, when they can run with the ball, they score more points. Gonzaga, 38th fastest team in the country. BYU, 53rd fastest team in the country. If this gets into an up and down game,
you like the over.
I like the over.
That was a little picky for not too picky.
It was. All right. What do you have for us this weekend?
Well, the one thing that I have, not for this weekend, but for tonight, is that I've been big on these appetizers. Little appetizer.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first game is normally at 6:30. Then the big slate starts at 7, then 9, and so on. So I've been betting a first half bet in the 6:30 game, and I've hit 3 times in a row.
Let's go, Reed.
3 times in a row. By the way, the Georgia cover last night in the first half, you need to go back and watch the end of that first half. Incredible cover. They were playing Mississippi State. Mississippi State missed 4 free throws in the final minute. All miss, and Georgia won by a point in the first half, so I got that bet. So just an incredible cover. So you know what? We're due for a loss, and you know what that loss is going to be? The 6:30 game tonight is Minnesota versus Ohio State.
Oh, disgusting game.
Minnesota is really bad. Ohio State, good team, but they hit their lumps. I like the under in the first half there. I'm a fool. I'm a sucker for the totals. 64.5. Minnesota does not score at all.
No, Minnesota's a bad basketball team.
Give me the under in that one, and I think, 64.5. Give me the under for the appetizer. Also, on Betfred Sportsbook, I've been talking about this behind the walls. I've brought this up with you. Betfred Sportsbook has a Big East odds to win outright in the regular season. Currently, UConn, despite losing 3 games, is still the favorite at plus 125. Xavier's second at plus 230. Then you got Marquette plus 500, Providence plus 650, Creighton plus 1100. Those are probably the only 5 teams that can win at this point. And Creighton, UConn have 3 losses already. Marquette, Providence have combined for 1 loss. And I'm trying to figure out where I can get some value out of that one.
Probably Providence, just because they play so exceptionally well at home. I would say Providence is probably the value there. I don't like Xavier at plus 230. Like, I hate futures less than 500 because you just tie your money up for a long time at plus 230. I don't. Not saying that Xavier won't win it. I just think plus 230. Why take the future at plus 230? If you're going to take a shot, take it on Marquette or Providence. I think Creighton's a little too long now. Creighton, they've showed some struggles to where now with a couple of losses already early in the Big East season. Creighton, they're sitting at 3-3. That's tough. You're probably thinking the Big East winner will end up with somewhere between 4 to 5 losses. And does Creighton really only have 1 loss in them the rest of the way? I mean, they're projected at 12-8. Xavier, Providence, and Marquette and Connecticut are all projected at around 5 losses. So I don't think it's there on Creighton. I think if you're going to take one, I would take Providence or Marquette, whichever one you can get a little higher.
So here's what I'm looking at. UConn has played the top 3 teams in the conference, Marquette, Providence, on the road already, so they bring them all home. Xavier plays Marquette twice and Providence twice, still in the slate. I was looking at putting two units on Xavier and a unit on Marquette and Providence each, and hope as long as one of those 3 teams win outright, you'll win money. The only thing that I don't know is how ties in the conference work on bet slips, on Betfred. If they tie.
That's a good point.
That's a tie.
I've
So
never
that's what
heard
it
of
comes down to. But just look at those futures on Betfred Sportsbook. I think there's some value there.
All right. Casey, anything before we get off of here?
I've got my parlay.
Let's go.
I put it in the graphics machine, so I'm going to throw it up here. Here we go. Casey parlay of the weekend. It's a 6-leg parlay. All this is on Betfred. Let me just go through it real quick.
I was going to say, recount that. Then I saw the totals at the bottom.
So Jacksonville, I could not find a money line. I really wanted to find a money line. But to me.
What?
You couldn't find the money line?
Couldn't find what?
On the Parlay Plus on Betfred, I couldn't find it. I found like a 0.05 spread. So I just said to myself, you know what? Let's not even just take the risk. Let's just give ourselves
They're
the
giving you
1.5
points.
points.
Take it.
Yeah, just take the points. Over 41.5 points. I mean, you think both of them are going to score 3 touchdowns?
This is a same game parlay of the Jags game.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think they're both teams are going to score at least 3 touchdowns each, putting that over at 42 at least. So there's your over 41.5 points. Mike Williams to score anytime. That's the one that I'm most concerned about in this parlay. If that's the one thing that you're looking at here, that's the one thing I'd probably change out of all of this. Austin Eckler averages like 35 yards a game receiving. That's easy. Keenan Allen, since he's been back, 60-plus yards. Easy. Travis Etienne, that's the other one that I'm slightly concerned, but not too concerned because, like Mike just said, Chargers are 28th in the league in rush defense, and Travis Etienne has been playing really, really well. If you guys watch the Jets game at all, you would know that team is able to move the ball, even on a really stout rush defense. So, with all that being said, that is the Casey parlay of the weekend. 6-leg parlay plus 1,900.
I don't see where that loses.
Casey, where does this lose?
I don't see where that loses.
I don't know, guys. I really don't know where that loses.
This is your best-looking parlay that you've cooked up yet.
I mean, I am proud of this one.
They keep getting better.
But you know what we say.
They almost always. Have you hit a parlay yet?
I have.
On the one that you brought up on the show.
Casey,
that's
tell
the
the
sad
people.
thing.
Tell the people what happened on Sunday. You don't have to tell them an amount, but tell them what happened. Casey was against me, and I walked in on Monday morning and goes, I didn't have the heart to tell you last night. And I said, I don't care. I'm happy for you.
Well, so you were on the Packers.
I was.
I was rooting against them. I had a parlay for the Lions.
A massive parlay read.
A massive one.
Massive parlay. I'm.
Like
This is
big
not
hit?
like
Big hit?
not a shtick. Like, you know what I was gonna win?
Oh, he won more?
Significantly more than that.
He won?
Won it, and didn't want to say anything because he knew how hard I was cheering for the Packers.
Well, both
won
were
more than what you won.
Significantly more than what I would have won if the
Hell
Packers
yeah,
had won.
Casey.
Yes.
Like we're talking 4 figures.
Well, I didn't want to air him out, but yeah.
Yeah, that's 4 figures. Yeah.
Yeah.
Proud. Pretty proud. I'm about
But
to proud.
I didn't want to say anything because it's like.
Now I respect that, but I would never.
We're getting
fault
off
you.
this show, and I'm seeing the slip.
It's unbelievable.
I need to see the
He
slip.
comes in. I come in to sit down on Monday. I come in to produce the show, and before we go on with Thom, he says, "Hey man, I'm really sorry. You know, I know you were really rooting for the Packers last night." And I was like, "Dude, it was a free bet. Like I could have cashed out. I didn't because it was a free bet. Like it's fine. It's whatever." He goes, "But I did hit this." And it just shows me the slip. Green, cash. I go, what? Didn't throw it in the group chat. Nothing.
Love it.
Good etiquette from you.
Real G's move in silence like lasagna.
You know what the funny thing is? The only reason I even put because I never talk about the parlays either because it's always ridiculous and it's like, all right, you're sweating parlays. I have a personal policy of never sharing them. The only reason I did was because I knew Trace was a Packers fan and we could be in misery or joy together. That was the only reason I put it in the chat. But Casey came out of the woodwork with a 4-figure parlay.
Yeah, I mean, it was – well, So me and my best friend, we both made this parlay together, and we both had different. So we came up with it together, and we both bet on that parlay. But then we made another parlay separately without both of us knowing. And we both bet the same thing, and both of us hit on that parlay. So
love it. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
It was great, and I'm very happy for you. And because of that parlay, Casey, you're going to the game on Sunday.
Yes.
Bought tickets with it.
Bought tickets with the money.
Love that. Love that.
Congratulations, Casey. Seriously. I'm happy for you.
I can't wait to see it.
It really wasn't even all that crazy.
I can't wait to see it. Let's wrap this show up so I can see it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all on Monday or on Thursday, too, with Mike back again. And, yeah, have a great weekend. Should be a great weekend of sports.
Take the Cowboys.